Welcome everyone to the Apex Legends African Throwdown, brought to you by NODWIN Gaming Africa. We are in the second day of the semi-finals, and I will be your host for tonight. My name is Proxy, and of course, I'm joined by these amazing casters we saw last night. It's Iro, OG, and Tendo Plays taking you through all the action for tonight. And speaking about tonight, let's take a look at that schedule to see what you're in store for. So as we get ready for it, of course, semi-finals day 2 does mean that we bring back World's Edge, and of course, it's 4 maps of it and 4 opportunities for our semi-finals group 2 to get themselves into those top 10 slots to move on to the next phase. Speaking about schedule, let's take a look at why we're all here. Let's take a look at what these teams are competing for, and it is, of course, that prize pool. So let's take a look and remind you about the winnings that they possibly can be taking home. So a total prize pool of $1,000, with fourth place taking $100, third place taking $200, second place taking $300, and of course your champions of the African Throwdown Cup 2 taking home $400. So an absolute little bit of pocket change there, and some bragging rights that they are the best in Africa. Now, speaking about prize pools and speaking about schedules, let's talk about the points. Let's talk about how they are going to be able to get themselves into those top 10 slots, and it's of course by grabbing as many points as possible. Now, the deadly combo for getting as many points as possible is, of course, placements and kill points. Getting as many placement points, earning those first place to second place to third place, of course, gets you the most amount of points. Going through, of course, 16th to 20th is going to get you no placement points, and every single kill will land you an extra point. So it rewards those teams that stay active. It rewards the teams that are looking for those kills. Now, speaking about teams, we saw yesterday some semi-finals going down, and it was an absolute bloodbath between the top 10 of Group A and the top 10 of Group B. Let's take a look at those standings and remind you who are our top 10 going through to the finals from that semi-finals day number 1. Tendo, if you would, please take us through it.
Of course, yesterday, the semi-final was really explosive with the Carthaginians coming through, dropping 116 points. Following after that is 2 noobs, 1 cheater, Don't Stop Gaming, ATK, Punks, Aquaman, Team Benched, Dark Esports, Omnis Gaming, and let's not forget CCP. Yesterday was pretty explosive. I'm really hoping to see some of the same gameplay today, and hopefully a little bit more of a kill distribution that is leveled throughout the lobby. I feel like today's matchup is really nice and evened out. I don't know, what do the rest of you guys think?
Yeah, I think the teams that we have today are a little bit more even. We didn't see such a ridiculous domination in terms of groups, except for Nibble with the last few games coming through. They really picked it up. With that, I think they had 111 points overall. So they definitely were the standout team, but it was only towards the latter half of that group stage, right? Before that, they were pretty calm. Whereas with the Carthaginians, they, from the get-go, were trying to set a statement, trying to make sure that the rest of us knew that they were here and they were ready to play. But I mean, we've got Vesimus Gaming, we've got Nibble Esports, of course. We've got so many teams that we were absolutely losing our minds about. WRG, Laggy Boys. I mean, some of the other teams that we saw in Group D, it was JSN, the Caras Carries, which Tendo, I know you are waiting to talk about. So please tell us a little bit about the Caras Carries.
Yeah, well, unfortunately today, the Caras Carries are really going to be carrying the man himself, Caramel, because he's not here, he's absent, so they're going to have to pull in the replacement. Cam is filling in, if I'm not mistaken, so that's going to be pretty interesting. I think Cam is a pretty good player, just as much as Caramel, so we'll see what that changes in the dynamic of the team. But I mean, hey guys, look, tonight we've got, Nibble, WRG, you said Vesimus is going to be there, we saw Swamp Creatures pulling up some good numbers, in the group stage. SimplySecluded as well, they surprised us in the group stage matches. They were really consistent here and there, so it would be good to see exactly what's going to happen. Let's not forget about JSN, who I'd like to contrast as almost like a Carthaginians in their own form, right? Maybe not as potent as the Carthaginians, but definitely a force in on their own. So I think tonight the spectrum is broad, and I think the brawl is going to be pretty hectic.
And what I like about tonight is we don't just have teams that are, naturally talented in terms of getting kills. We have teams that are extremely consistent in terms of they focus on the goal. They focus on those placement points. They do, make sure they give themselves enough time to get those kills points, but then they hunker down. They get ready for those zones. They get those early rotations in. And JSN were one of those teams that were really good at staying consistent because they had a balanced approach, whereas the Carthaginians were just kill everything basically. And with some of the other teams coming in as well, like ATK, who we know have the giant stomper themselves, Chambi, coming through and doing exactly that. They were so good at doing that, but maybe fell a little bit short when it came through to the rotations. We spoke a little bit about that, unfortunately finding themselves in some really, really horrible situations, which happens. RNG, third parties, etc. Rotations sometimes just don't go the way that you'd wanted to. Your pathing is maybe not what you wanted it to. But so far, I think tonight is going to be an interesting game. Obviously, we're going to have to wait for the first game before we can really overanalyze it a little bit more. But Iro, I mean, Group C, Group D, what are some of the teams that you're keeping your eye out on? Some of the moments that you remember from those group stages, which is why you are waiting to see them tonight.
Honestly, it has to be again from the Group C, Laggy Boys and Secluded. I don't think Secluded are playing with their main player, Secluded LOL, so it's going to be interesting to see exactly what they can pull out in this game over here. And yeah, just in general, those two teams really stood out the most for me, being that, they're not the favorites to pop off in the way that they did in terms of placement points. Their consistency maybe can be much better, and that's what I'm really looking forward to, is maybe this week that they had off to sort of warm up here, maybe they bring in a new strategy towards this 4 games that we have in the semifinals.
Talking about the semi-finals, obviously, we're trying to see who's the top 10 moving on to those finals, and I do need to make a bit of a possible announcement that our finals may move over a week because of a possible update that will be dropping during our finals, which we obviously don't want to have a repeat of those Group C games where we had to, postpone things, and it just drags out the competition. So we'd like to then potentially just move it over a week to make sure that everyone is comfortable and able to play to their best possible abilities. But if you want information about that, once that confirmation comes through, whether we are or are not moving it, that will be on the NODWIN Gaming Africa website, and of course all the NODWIN Gaming Africa socials. So if you haven't already either checked out the website or gone and follow NODWIN Gaming Africa on their socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, I feel like there's more, but they're everywhere basically. Go check them out and make sure that you stay up to date, because of course you want to be here for the finals. The finals are going to be insane. There's 2 days of finals. So far, every single team has had only 1 day to get themselves a slot in the next phase, but now it's 2 days. It's an insane amount of maps in between, so a lot of opportunities for things to obviously change, and for some crazy upsets, which I think we're waiting for. We're waiting for those answers about, okay, what's that finals group obviously going to look like? Who's going to be the next 10 to join some of these insane teams we saw yesterday, like ATK, Omnius Gaming, Team Benched as well coming through, obviously the Carthaginians. A lot of questions that we want to be answered. But Tendo, I mean, from your side, how has the strategy been looking? We talk about team comps yesterday. We were talking about Revtane. What do you think today is going to look like?
Look, I don't think we're really going to see Revtane as prominent in this lobby, right? Unless perhaps maybe JSN pulls in that meta, because, I've noticed that in that Middle Eastern, North African region, that's a pretty dominant meta that they like to use. They like to take fights, they like to hug the edge of the zone, clean up those fights, just like the Carthaginians were doing. So we might see JSN adopt a similar mentality and playstyle with that. Will they use Seer, Octane, and Revenant, though? That's what we're going to have to question and see, right? We saw how powerful that combination can be yesterday. It might just be as powerful today. I do feel like we will see a very big meta shift in this lobby compared to yesterday's lobby, right? And it's crazy, right? Because as soon as we get into those grand finals, we're going to have almost like a mix of, the semifinal A playstyle with this, polluted with the Revtane meta. Maybe people are going to pick up that meta from the semifinals after seeing the Carthaginians that, hey, maybe this is what we have to do to win this thing. And then maybe tonight we'll see a different playstyle that people are like, hey, this is what we have to do in the grand final to win. And then we're just going to have this like clash. It's going to be so exciting. But I think today is still going to be just as exciting, right? We'll just have to wait and see the picks. Are we going to see more caustics as well to deal with that problem? I mean, there's so many questions to be asked. At this point, we can't really determine what's going to happen, because yesterday we said a bunch of things and a bunch of things happened that weren't what we said.
Yeah, that's generally what happens when you try to predict anything with these Apex Legends game. They go absolutely the opposite direction of what you were thinking. But speaking about caustic, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because we were speaking a little bit off camera yesterday about the obvious counter to a Revtane is, actually working out with that caustic. I had a lovely conversation in chat with Sir Caramel, who's not here today to actually prove a point. But caustic was very prevalent within the later groups that we saw. Group C, Group D, we saw a lot of caustics. I mean, the first thing I can think about is Vesimus, fighting within that caustic gas, making it work. So it's weird that we didn't see caustic actually being picked up as, you know, that obvious counter, but we might see that in Group C and Group D as just, you know, some teams might just be comfortable with Caustic in general. So when we get to that final, and if Revtain has, you know, polluted the semifinals Group 1, then it might find its natural enemy in the form of the semifinals Group 2, who were naturally just leaning towards that Caustic pick, which it's interesting. It's like we've literally set up that final question till the last possible second. Is Revtain going to be counted? Ira, from your side, what's your opinion on Revtain?
Honestly, it is very, very broken. The Carthaginians really used it to their best, and having a Seer or even a Bloodhound really just makes it even more OP. So yeah, the other part to it, to countering that, Nintendo really talked a little bit about it yesterday, was that distancing. You know, if you do see maybe a Rev 10 sort of being pulled out or played, then try disengage as far as you can. Maybe use a Q on an Octane or even a Portal on Wraith. Just get out of that situation. So maybe that's what we're going to be seeing in the finals instead of just the caustic plays, because to like, it's not, it is a safe counter, but it isn't going to work to the Carthaginians because they have grenades and arc stars, and they're just ready to like unfold all that action as quick as possible. And then immediately, as soon as they send back to the totem, they up the Q of Octane back into the fight yet again. So there's no time to heal. The gas is already gone. Your canisters have already been used for the caustic, and it is just going to be a bloodbath that the Carthaginians will be doing. So yeah, just try your level best, get that distance away from the team. If you know you've already sent them 3 away, just run. Don't even try heal, just run.
Well, I was going to say we're waiting on one player to join, but never mind. It looks like we are ready, set, and getting so pumped for the first map of the semifinals, day 2 of the Apex Legends African Throwdown. And of course, it's at this moment that I give it over to our wonderful casters, Stendo Plays and ROG, to take you through all the action that is waiting for you on the other side of this VT. So get ready, get pumped, get your popcorn, get set for the Apex Legends African Throwdown Action Cup 2, brought to you by NODWIN Gaming Africa. As I say, guys, you take it away, you do what you do.
All right, here we go, Iro. And I'm pretty excited at the fact that we got to cast semifinal 1 together, right? Because we have this, you know, idea of exactly what we are looking out for in this semifinal, what's different, what's going to be the same, what we can comment on, and what these players have maybe taken away from watching yesterday's stream to implement into here. You know, we're talking a lot about, you know, what we can do to counter Revtain. I think another one that we didn't really speak too much about is obviously playing Gibby, right? And I think the problem with Gibby is he's in that spot where he's not a difficult legend to enter, but he is a little bit difficult to play in a comp situation, right? Because bubble timing and like ult timing is so crucial in so many situations that if you have a trigger happy player playing on the Gibby, it can also be detrimental to your squad.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I mentioned this in one of the groups that we even casted, is that timing on the Q is so important, because most of these guys, as soon as they get tagged up, it's Q up, and you know, for the oppositions, it's a matter of patience, because they didn't even deal that much damage, so there's no need to now go in and do the bubble, jump in and fight in the bubble, whatever. Just wait until that bubble is sort of cleared up, and then start making the action to W key or get more damaged out there. And that's where, you know, Gibby needs to sort of be improved here in the African Apex Throwdown, is when to use that Q and when to use his ult, because they play such an important role in the combat situations that you find yourself in.
Yeah, man, I think it's so crucial to have I want to say a floating player, in a sense, someone that's comfortable. Flex player, I think, is actually the proper term that you would use, you know, because you'd always have your player who's kind of your entry fragger, that's kind of fixated on the whole, you know, Wraith meta, Octane meta, just being there for the team to deal that damage, right? You get your flex player who's able to just be comfortable either on like that Gibraltar, maybe a young Caustic there, maybe even Watson here. You know, they have to be comfortable switching those roles to fit whatever playstyle of the lobby and for the team, right? And then you always have your support mains, maybe who will also play on that role, but you know, you never know exactly how teams like to play and their compositions, right? You have to play to the strengths of
Yeah.
the team here, right?
Yeah, exactly. What I like about Gibby is his extra shield as well that you get with him. So he can somewhat play to an aggressive role to the most likes. I mean, he does have that extra shield to his body, and if you do like break that, you then have to deal extra more damage, which then means now your clip is almost done. You go into your secondary option, and it all comes down to how much Kovacs also you're dealing in terms of these situations. But yeah, Gibby's, I enjoy him. We don't see him too much here in the African Throwdown. Really good. Like maybe Gibby, Wraith, and Octane works for the most. Even more so, maybe instead of Octane, a Bloodhound. I think that would be perfect. What is your perfect like trio to go into any comp situation?
Yeah, you know, I think it's really tough because it does genuinely come down to how the lobby is structured on the day, right? Because some metas won't really work in specific lobbies, right? A really good example of this is exactly why Watson isn't such a huge pick, because people don't really feel the need to be posting up in these positions, right? A lot of people like to be mobile. They like to take these fights here and there, and Watson doesn't really give you that kind of flexibility, right? You got to be posted up in the position and holding some ground with Watson, right? So I think Wraith, Gibraltar, and Bloodhound, that was a really good meta. It was a bit irritating, I think, you know, with the scans. Everybody pretty much had a Blood on their team, scanning left, right, and center. But I mean, the gameplay was pretty straightforward, right? You know, let's scan beacons. We have the Bloodhound to get the scan, get information here and there, right? Let's make precise rotations. We've got the Gibraltar player there to assist with these hectic rotations and or holding spots that we need to either take over and control. And obviously, you know, you have Wraith there to do exactly what Wraith is there to do: entry frag, you know, look for picks here and there, and also as a means of an escape for the team and a fast rotation. That was a really good meta. I think, you know, things around then were pretty interesting to watch with Apex, but obviously as time progressed with the game, they started adding Horizon here and there, right? And that's when things started getting shaken up. But ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we're finally here. It's finally time to start the African Throwdown, hosted by NODWIN Gaming, and I am excited to see exactly what the picks are going to look like.
Yeah, let's see exactly. We got one player to load into the map over here. Game number 1, Tendo, and we're gonna see a weird situation. I feel like I didn't get to watch Group D, but I feel like Group C is very much a better top 10 going into the semifinals. So it's gonna be tough for everyone across the board to, you know, interact with each other. The oppositions are just going to be tough. But now we get to see some of the legends. You already see a Gibby, 2 Octanes. There is also going to be a Valkyrie here. There goes a Wraith, a Seer, Caustics. Interesting. We do see already Bloodhound and an Octane over here by early access, and a Gibby as well. So for the most part, doesn't look like there's any Revtons, which is going to be amazing. A lot of Gibbies.
Louis C. Right there.
I spoke too soon.
Pulling in with the only Revenant comp, but they're playing interestingly, right?
Yeah.
Because they're playing with a Bangalore and a Seer. So it'll be interesting to see how that one plays through, right? You know, I think Revenant is fine when you're not pairing it up with Octane. I think it's really easy to deal with, because at the end of the day, those people are just going to have to run across to you, right? And if they don't plan the push correctly, you can definitely send them back. It's when you have to mix it in with Octane where it gets a little bit sticky, right?
That Q of Octane makes Revenant so OP, because first and foremost, using your totem to get to them quicker. You send back and immediately you're like, why is this guy here already? It's because of that Octane jump, and the boost that you get from that jump pad is really crazy. But now here, Tender, we got the likes of WRG, we got the likes of Nibble Esports, JSN, Laggy Boy, Secluded, all of them sort of going into a really good distributed of drop spots. Lava City looking contested, however, launch site obviously landing by the Nibble Esports. WRG going Thermal Station, and for the most part, Fragment West is looking very uncontested for the first time.
Yeah, I actually am enjoying the distribution of how the squads are playing. Yeah, it's as if they had a pre-lobby discussion on exactly where everybody would kind of be landing about, and everybody's kind of figured things out. Obviously, we have a few contestants here and there, especially here at the Lava City. Swamp Creatures going up against it. Swamp Creatures doing so good in the group stage games, obviously coming in with Kano from Wikipedia, so really big highlight in that team. Going up against 69. Now 69 really did struggle to get into the semi-final. If I'm not mistaken, they did finish 10th, so they're gonna have to pull up and show up in the semi-final. And against Swamp Creatures, this could be a difficult fight for them.
Definitely could be, but I did like how 69 Gaming sort of came through with their game 3 and 4 from Inakato player himself. He was able to get even, the most kills at some point, and he was really doing the most for the team, reviving them, respawning them, bringing them back into the map. So let's see exactly how they can handle the situation now going up against Swamp Creatures. On the other hand, we also do have Early Access, who's now going to try to take a shot over here, but for the most part, it doesn't look like a Peacekeeper is going to do any of that damage over there, and the player is going to be able to swift out and fly onto the map. But where to, Tendo? Because it's busy every single place.
Yeah, and the problem is when you run into traffic, you just... It's funny how it's like a rolling effect, right? You're stuck on the freeway, the one car in front of you stops, and then another car, and another car, and another car. And it's basically just the rule of Battle Royale. Once the shots are being fired, everybody's pretty much going to rotate onto that, and we're going to get a pretty favorable zone pool for both WRG and Nibble here, putting towards that tree area. So I'm sure fast rotations will be made out from them. A lot of the teams in the north need to make a really big rotation. Back here at the Lava City, it's still popping off between 69 and Swamp Creatures, and there's actually going to be a player exchange from either side. This fight is waging around the train car, and it looks like the team of 69 actually clean up the Swamp Creatures. And 69 coming in this one fighting strong. And sometimes it's unfortunate how it pulls through here. You come 10th in your group stage, you maybe think like, hey guys, let's just give it our all in the semi-final. You never know what'll happen, and you knock out Swamp Creatures, who were looking like a little bit of a threat. So that is a pretty big disappointment for them, but they will have, of course, 3 more games to play through.
Yeah, this is really where things start to change for 69. 3 kill points already for them. That's going to be really juicy. On the other hand, Nibble Esports moving quite quick on their off-spawn rotations already. They're finding themselves moving into the positions where they could potentially fight. You can see some defenses already coming in from that caustic with the canisters. And it is a careful rotation in between these housing over here. Nerdish, Zere maybe being the team to run away from Nibble Esports. I'm not entirely sure, but on the other hand, you also got Wukiwaka, who was also amazing in the Group C. I did manage to grab some of the gameplay that they had over here, but Maya, Killers, and Junaid already popping the queue with no problem at all for them.
Yeah, interesting queue. I wonder.
Okay. Valkyrie, so redeploy
really
and managing
smart,
to
really
get out of
smart.
here. I think
don't take any damage.
Yeah. They definitely don't want to get into any fighting position, but this is very scary for a team like this. Early on, already looking to redeploy, their next traffic opposition is just going to sort of put them in a pinch moment, because now they can't really redeploy out of the situation, and they're going to need to choose to take the fight on. And this is where, you do see that confidence playing a huge role, that mentality into each fighting position. Disengaging is not always the question, because it does put you in a weird position. That I do see for the most part that they sort of go very far as well over here. But Nibble Esports, Gutbuster taking a lot of damage over here, taking a battery, and it does look like they're going up against Noobs Goat for the most part. Carnival as well, Seth doesn't look to have the best Evo shields on their end. They have the white. They're going to need to farm that Evo. And there's Tenchi with the R301 able to beam now. He's managed to crack, and it's just a couple more shots and he will get that finish. Do they go in for the W key over here, Tendo? What is the play, man?
They might opt not to. I think it's a little bit too far, but hey, Tenchi is sensing blood, and he looks like he's going to go in for the fight for the most part. Leaf really needs to be careful that he doesn't get caught lacking. And the whole entire Nibble roster, it looks like they want to aggress onto this. They want to get some early points on the board. And especially with this team running away like this, sometimes it's really good to dog down a team. Because, you might just run them into a third party anyways, right? And they become in the middle of the sandwich. I mean, you have to take that gamble and get the points. Knocks are coming through, though. So for now, everything seems worthwhile for Nibble, as they just clean up Leaf, unfortunately getting left behind with the rest of the pack. And now Nibble getting a little bit of loot, getting a good rotation, kind of snuff out this area, see exactly if there's any squads around here, and just clearing their backs in their own way and form. But yeah, I mean, look, north side of the map, man. I mean, I don't know, squads always that land in the north side of the map have such slow rotations compared to the south side squads, which I never really understand why. I kind of feel like everybody feels comfortable on that side of the map because rotations are maybe easier for them.
Yeah. I mean, it could be easier, but it's always so fluctuating in terms of how many teams are positioned in the north over there, because that's where, you know, everyone opts in, especially knowing your WRG, your Nibble, Esports are all in the south. They just situating themselves into the north side. So now when it comes to rotating, it's just going to be tough. And in terms of Kronos over here, he's just running and in hopes that this is his moment to make some placement points, whatever the case. But Tenshi is far behind, and he's going to be able to get that elimination over there. Kill leader already here on Tenshi. Couple kill points coming into play as well, and that's where it's going to be really juicy. And you can see Rush, Titan, Yasuke, Reburst, Reburst with his G7 Scout was so amazing in his group stage round. Hopefully we get to see some of that amazing beams coming in from him. I don't know what I was going to say over there, but amazing stuff that we have over here. 18 squads, Tendo. This is game 2 of Group C almost. I'm crossing my fingers that we're going to witness something like that.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit packed in and around the zone with all these squads still up. And everybody's going to start to feel the pressure of their rotations that they opted for. And you can see Nerdish, it's now kind of stuck in the spot. You know, they're in a good spot to rotate into the zone. They got the close side of it, but it might just be a little bit tough going through these choke points. And yeah, it looks like they're just going to pop another redeploy and get out of this one. They do get away nice and safe and clean. It can be really tragic if the Valkyrie does get shot before the redeploy is popped off, because everybody just gets sent back right to the ground, and hopefully they don't find anybody close by. But oh, it is none other than JSN lurking in the area, who've been pretty quiet for the most part. I haven't really seen their names pop off in the kill feed, and maybe now JSN will open things up. But check this out. Look, it's WRG, and WRG is actually playing with EXO and not Niling in for today, which is a pretty interesting pickup. If EXO is to continue things off, I don't know how much you know about EXO. No. Yeah, Iro, but EXO used to play competitively quite often. Took a little bit of a hiatus, but seems to be back here with the WRG roster. So it'll be pretty interesting to see exactly what will happen as we tune back into Nerdish trying to hold up this position.
That's going to be interesting. You know, WRG very much confident players over here, but it's killers with the G7 Scout, but he's going to be absolute beam down to at least, what, 40 HP. He's going to need to take that, and it is maybe the call for EXO and Lone to put it in, but no, for them, it's also sitting ducks and waiting. It's a patience game that we have on our hands. EXO, however, getting closer into the containers, maybe trying to find himself a play on the low grounds where he could get a beam, but look over here, it is a massacre of defense with the Caustic, and that's maybe the advantage they would have. He's got that longbow at hand, and for the most part, his teammate was in the way to actually connect any surreal shots alone. Now needing to take a battery, does so successfully. EXO just keeping that pathway closed in case any of these oppositions want to make that rotation on that low ground.
This lobby's really dying down pretty slowly. Everybody's kind of playing things pretty methodically for the most part. It would seem like no one's really trying to invest themselves into any fight that doesn't look too winnable for the most part. And it's just this slow ticking down. WRG is being really aggressive onto Nerdish, so they do need to watch out, especially with EXO. EXO loves to play that lurking Wraith role, trying to find any bits that the enemy team will be showing to deal any little bits of damage, because at the end of the day, it's just that little armor crack that can open things up. And EXO's looking to make a bit of a play here at the top of the roof. Does pop a portal. Everybody seems to be coming in for this one. Even Rexu's here, but actually the one will hold off Lone as they try and steer this one down. It's tough to push Caustic players, but now EXO peeks in. All 301 in hand, does get the one crack. They're beaming through this. The Arcstar's huge here from Rexu as well as a massive shot. So now WRG is entering this fight with a really big advantage. They pretty much cleaned up the team of Nerdish. Only the one player left climbing up the back, and he's just getting absolutely shredded. And you can't really do much about that. Plus, do you think it was able to pop a Q and get out of that situation just for now? But I don't know for how much longer, unless they did clean up everybody. No, I think they did clean up everybody on the side of Nerdish. So that's just a little bit unfortunate, man. And those buildings, you think you have a Caustic, you think it's easy to hold things up, but sometimes when everybody's just peeking through the doorway like that and dealing damage on your squad, there's not much you can really do.
No, there isn't, and they played it really well to their advantage, just waiting, and that door was wide open, damaged and ready for them. So for the most part, it was just a GG's into WRG. We do now come down to 15 players here at staging. There's a couple action going down. It's Loowe, CEE, and we can see exactly what happens. Evo is terrible on the other hand, however, just 3 white Evo shields. They're going to need to be doing the farming as much as they can possible.
Now the zone will be pulling in a lot of squads. Actually in the zone, man. Pretty impressed with how many teams are kind of giving each other respect on their rotations right now. Not really looking to fight each other, just trying to play for this final zones. We are going to see a rip push come in from Loowe as they do push into this fight on the opposite end. Doesn't really look too successful. S4 trying to post up on this spot. The squad does look to be sending them back quite effectively, and they're not really going to capitalize on this rev push. But it does look like they're still going to push into this. Lean Cup, either 8 in hand, trying to pop a couple of shots through the smoke. Can't really find anything. Now the entire team of Loowe will be sent back and will have to reset onto this fight. Lots of teams actually caught on this side, this kind of north side of where the zone is, just at the top here of Harvester, trying to make their way in. I think we do see the team of Vissimus as well, just at the bottom over there, with Ali and Neo. See what they're doing.
Interesting. S4 DD as well involved over here. Drummond, he's also a fantastic player that I got to see in his group stage. Scare, managing to pick up a knock over here. Now, scheming absolutely well. He takes that Eva 8 and he's going to get that confirmation. Loowe also getting eliminated on his end, and that's just not going to be looking well.
Yeah, the fights are really breaking loose here. Cummings comes in, beaming with the vault. Doesn't really find too much damage. The team of Vissimus is holding quite well for now. They do need to heal up though to be in full capacity to take this fight. Nades are being lobbed in, but for now, it doesn't really seem to be doing too much damage. But look at Lean Cup pull in here with the G7 Scar. He's looking to dive on in with the Eva 8. Does so much damage, takes down Scare. Neo's down as well. And it looks like S4 is performing in the lobby right here, just like they did in the group stages, finishing 4th. They're looking to continue this streak for them.
What a perfect situation that we have from S4 as they're able to just eliminate quite clean. They got 25 seconds to get all the best loot that they can possibly to make that rotation now into the next zone. And we are down to 12 squads attendo. It does look like, for the most part, semifinals 2 is showing up to par with how competitive Apex Throwdown can actually be. A couple, 2 to 3 squads already in the next zone, so that's going to be dope. We got Caras carry as well in this situation with Pac-Man, Jared, and Cam. Let's see exactly what goes in. For the most part, it doesn't look like they've managed to pick up any eliminations. The Hamlock in the hand, and something I've never got to see quite much in the Apex Throwdown, but Cam Siege opting in for that loadout of there. Hopefully we'll be able to grab some eliminations. WRG, Nibble still in a very good position, and 4 kills to Tenchi. He's still setting in a really bloodbath for himself yet again in the Apex Throwdown.
Slow lobby this one if Tenchi's sitting with 4 kills as kill leader. I think everybody's, again, giving each other respect on these rotations. WRG at 3 now. You spot a team on the higher ground, and 999 is just looking like they're crumbling in that spot that they're in. Unfortunately, stuck in the zone. Teams are trying to rotate on this higher ground, but look at Lone with that L-Star, which is me favoring so much, dealing so much damage from across here. Absolutely just melting these 4 players. They don't really have a spot to run away from, right? You drop down there, you face them anyways, and there's a team on the low ground already. So it's just a bit of a tough spot for them to be playing from. WRG is just going to put as much work in as they can. 10 squads in the zone right here, Iro. I mean, damn, this is crazy. Look at Rexu coming in, trying to beat Kobe, throwing in that ulti. I wonder if that ulti is going to do a lot of damage. It's coming down, and it's raining thunder, and they're shooting them out of the sky like clay pigeons. It's early Axis. Only Zelly's alive. Zelly's going to try pop the res, but oh my goodness, at this point, you'd have to just say it's curtains of early Axis, and the Star Stick! My goodness! At this point, it's just the NBA Finals in the African Throwdown. Don't know how NODWIN made that happen, but they're making it happen. And look at JSN standing on top of this fight. They clean it up, but now they're in a bad spot. I don't know what this play is from them, because now WRG can definitely do exactly the same as what they did to Early Access to them.
Yeah, definitely, and they go in for that Q as well that we mentioned. You know, the timing of that is so crucial as now it's open. But JSN, for the most part, still beaming in and doing the most. They do also have the play of switching their evos quite quickly with all the dead boxes that they have around them. JSN, for the most part, seem to be doing a lot more better than the oppositions that had laid down quite soon. Now Lone and them also can start making some trouble over here. Saboteur in an absolute beam. He's gonna take that heal and he's gonna get back to his full HP.
Yeah, kind of a tough spot for both squads, right? They do have the high ground, so they do have those glitches as well. But they're making the dive down, and look at WRG just beam them from across. And there's that timing on that Gibby Dome that's so crucial for the squad here. They're able to replenish their health, but is it gonna be enough as this rotation is so active for JSN, and they're just making it just barely under the bridge for now. And everything's fine for the moment. WRG also just sitting comfortably. Right now, Rexu is kill leader, so you'd have to wonder what is happening with Nibble on the opposite ends, who we haven't seen too much. I did see them in the kill feed a little bit though. I believe we have the team of iEnvy down below there, also holding up some ground, who did pretty well in their group stage games as well, along with Visimus. So we'll see exactly how this all turns through. There's 9 squads in this zone. Where are these squads, man?
Maybe for the most part solos, duos, but we are now here. And that zone is so small, not that much cover. JSN, for the most part, can be the trouble here for WRG, as they're on a platform, not that much cover around them.
Ooh, Mike. Dude, I swear, man, I don't know. At this point, I'm telling you, NODWIN signed the contract with NBA the way these Kobe's are coming through, guys. I don't know. Look at WRG. They're being so proactive in this situation after seeing how JSN wants to progress onto this fight, and that's exactly what WRG is going to do. They're going to try to challenge this fight. Look at where Lone is positioned. Needs to be a little bit careful. Very vulnerable from this spot. But JSN looks behind here, and Nye pulls through with the flat line to try cover fire for them, but it's not going to be enough, and they're just getting beamed from behind from EXO. EXO's coming in, and they look to be in a sandwich with Caras carries their JSN, and they're out of this one, down for the count. It does also look like Caras carries is going down to the hands of Nibble, who are in the area, and that storyline that we saw in the group stage is continuing once again. It's Nibble versus WRG dominating the lobbies. Who exactly, though, is going to come up on top as WRG looks to be pushing another fight?
Honestly, it has to be Nibble 3-1 in terms of victory in their group stages. Tender, I really think that the Nibble Esports know exactly what they're doing right over here. But for the most part, those kill points are very crucial, and WRG are active. They're all over the scenes, just trying to pick up as much eliminations as they can. They don't seem to be stopping anytime soon, as now that they position themselves on top of Crummings and S4, who we did see with the perfect play. But here's a Q from Wraith, and it doesn't look like maybe that is the play. However, now White Rabbit Gaming seem to be focusing their actions onto Nibble Esports. Nibble Esports still also sending their focus to multi-teams, and this is what it means when you have the top teams in the lobby, in the end games over here.
Yeah, man, it's just trying to cover every angle that you can, pretty much, as well as you can. And the ulti's gonna come down on the one squad, hugging the edge of the zone. Look where Nabi King is been camping in that spot. I've been checking it out for the longest time. Laggy boys in a really tough spot here. The one player does go down, and look at the angle that Rexu has, and he's probably farming these poor people here. We're down to 4 squads in the zone. WRG have a good spot to kind of work with, a little bit of high ground, but so do the Nibble. But I think in terms of movement wise, I think Nibble might be the team that has to move off the spot. I'm not too sure. We still have the team right at the bottom down there. And it's Nabi King, the red cam, coming in clutch here. Just guaranteeing so many points to the squad, though, right? You know, yes, you think to yourself that, hey, how they not found this rat by now? But he's in such a good spot that nobody's really paying attention to that. There's just so much action happening in and around the map.
Yeah, honestly, it's amazing for him to.
Oh, Cummings took down Gutbuster. Hello?
Ooh. That's actually crazy. It is a knock though, but however, WRG Lone and them are gonna play to that advantage, and now Nibble down to 2 players.
Ooh. It seems like an ulti's coming down. Nibble's in a really tough spot. Look at 20's HP. I don't think 20 makes it out of that one. Somehow he's alive, but no. Rex's bombardment takes him down, so now Nibble is crumbling. Unfortunately, it looks like WRG is going to come up at the top because even on the opposite side, there seems to be an exchange. Lowe's taking up a lot of damage, but he's still going to get into this one. But Tenchi's still up. Nobody's looking at Tenchi. Tenchi's coming in with the backpack res, so this reg might be big. But look at Rexu. Rexu's active on this one. He knows exactly this is happening. He's swinging around the corner. WRG looks to clean this one up. And there's just the one person left, and I tell you right now, it's probably Nabi King. It is up at the top, the solo. He's done it all for his team to try and get as many points, but it's not enough. WRG will clean up at the end. And wow, what just happened in that end game? It just exploded.
It is as if we were going to be eating some good dessert. However, it came out all distorted, all so much action for us over here, Tendo. And that was really amazing on how WRG captivated the entire game and just took the champion moment over here.
That was absolute beautiful game management coming through from WRG. They were so aware of everything that was going on. I thought that golden backpack res was going to pop off, and then we were going to see a very different end game there, Nibble versus WRG once again. But this time WRG came back and they said, no, we are taking the first W this time around. And it was very close the last time. If you remember, when we saw that first Nibble versus WRG engagement in the group stages, it went the way of Nibble because WRG, they were getting bombarded with nades and they were in the middle of every single body. But this time around, they made sure they were the ones at the pinnacle ready to take that W coming through. And I'm so happy to see it because that means we have a story, Tendo. We have a story of revenge. We have a story of WRG looking to take their Ws back and starting off our second day of the semifinals with an absolute bang. What did you think about that game?
Yeah, I think it was a really good game coming in from WRG. Obviously, EXO filling in for Niling, or maybe coming in for Niling. Not too sure what the storyline behind that is, but really nice. You know, I think it's pretty interesting because EXO definitely fills out that lurking wraith role quite well, just looking and seeking for all these fights to get all this damage, backed up with Lone, who's a really good support player for the team, right? Getting the scans, getting all the information, and just being able to calm with the team. And then Rexu's just there to play Gibby and pivot everybody. And I mean, MVP well deserved. I mean, G7 Scout looking for almost everything. I'm sure comm-wise, it had to be super clean, right? Because they knew exactly what was happening in front of them all the time to take advantage of everything. And I mean, a shout out to Rexu and WRG for this MVP. 7 kills, 2.6 damage. G7 Scout don't play. Don't play.
Oh, tap.
Tap, tap.
But also the L-Stars coming through from
Yeah,
WRG
man.
was insane. They were so good at just containing everyone around them. That moment that they had like 2 teams there on that hillside just nading bombardments, L-Stars, it was rough. It was rough for anyone going up against that, but ultimately this is what the champions are about. So first win of the evening going to WRG. Of course, those standings you're going to have to wait for just a little while longer, as we will be going to a short break. But after we come back, it's of course those standings and getting ready for the second map of the semifinals, day 2 of the Apex Legends African Throwdown. So please stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the Apex Legends African Throwdown, brought to you by NODWIN Gaming Africa. So, semi-finals, map number 1, done and dusted. We're going to take a look at those standings and see who ended up on top and who took the most points, of course, to get them that much closer to those top 10 slots. That is what we're here for. We're going to see who's going to be moving on to the next phase at the end of the day. But starting off with match 1. Tendo, if you would, please take us through it.
18 kills coming in from WRG, ladies and gentlemen, dropping the 30 bomb, obviously point-wise. Then after that, it is a Nibble at second place. S4 doing really well to come in third. DOFI, we saw. Look at the power of the rat, ladies and gentlemen. I just want you guys to see 9 whole points, right? You're gonna kill 3 squads, but no, he decided to just chill in the zone and get 9 points. Laggy Boys after that. Visimus coming in at 6. Caras not doing too bad at 7th. JSN, who we thought would have a little bit of a better look in this round. We'll hope to see them doing a little bit better in the second, coming in at 8th. At 9th is Envy, and then Ellie Axis at 10th to round off the top 10 from that game.
So as it sounds, obviously these are your top 10 going through to the finals, but there's still 3 maps to go and to pick up those points to see where these teams are going to land up and if it's going to be the same teams or if we're going to see some other teams jumping themselves out of the woodworks and hopefully taking some spots and points for their own. Now, Iro, obviously first semi-final went a little bit crazy. What did you think about this one compared to last night?
Honestly, it was really very balanced and slow, which I really loved. I do like those, intense endgame situations where you're not really sure who's going to grab the win. It gives you somewhat of an intense situation or feeling. So for me, I really enjoyed it. You had the likes of WRG, Nibble Esports, S4, all of these guys in an endgame. It's like, okay, who's winning? It's not like, oh, Carthaginians are in here, they're going to grab the win because there's only 2 other squads in the game. So yeah, it felt really, really nice watching that one, and I'm hoping that a lot of these teams are, going into second game with a better confidence and not just looking to disengage at every single situation they find themselves in, because for the most part, they're just going to run into the other traffic, and yet again, now all their ults are sort of used up, their Qs are sort of accumulated as well, and it's just going to be elimination across the board. So we don't want to see that, but really game 1 set the tone for the rest of the evening. I don't think it's going to be the same going into game 2 and 3, as some of these guys are going to try be changing up their strategies, getting those kills, changing their rotations, and this just means for unanswered questions that we will have to find out at the end of game number 2.
I think you hit the nail on the head. It was a lot slower, but also we had a lot more teams towards that latter half of that zone, towards the end bits of that game. We had a lot more teams alive and ready for the action. I mean, even the fact that we saw, 5 or so teams in such a small area, still alive, still kicking, whether they were rats, whether they were full teams, does mean that we had a lot more of, as you said, a balanced sort of fight. We had a lot more competitiveness. I mean, the fact is, we saw that WRG win come through, which might have been a little bit different from the group stages. They were very good and very consistent, but this time around, they managed to just keep a level head and control everything around them, which was the crucial bit there for them, especially, considering we still had so many teams there towards the latter half. Tendo, from your side, comparing it obviously to yesterday, we can see it's a little bit of a slower pacing, things are calming down. What do you think about the hero compositions you've seen so far?
I think it's pretty interesting, right? In contrast to yesterday, I think yesterday the lobby really felt like a real war zone in terms of just like how haphazard things could get, right? It was very unpredictable. Sometimes we'll be asking ourselves, here on the casting panel that like, what happened to the game, guys? It's all of a sudden done, right? And I think Iro's right in saying that today is pretty concise in terms of just, feels a little bit more methodical. Like, we know what's happening. We can see where the teams are, their rotations, where they're posted up, what exactly is happening. I think the storylines are a little bit easier to tell, right? It's not just like one team running through and maybe causing this entire earthquake of an explosion of just action everywhere, right? Yes, WRG was there here and there. Obviously, they did drop 18 kills, right? You can't take away from that. But it didn't really feel like they were controlling the entire lobby to the full extent, right? Because you still had, pieces of Nibble showing around here and there, causing what they can do. And a lot of the teams that are in that final zone kind of putting up a fight, saying that, hey, we can still probably win this if we play this well. Unfortunately, positioning-wise, I think WRG just had the better positioning, the better rotation, right? And it all started with that fight where they took out Nerdish all the way back at tree.
Exactly that. And I mean, you're mentioning those 18 kills, right? So they took 18, and the next best was Nibble with 9. Literally double what Nibble took from that game. With the W added on top of that, WRG made a very good statement for the first game. Whether or not that's going to continue into the second game, I feel like I'm happy to say I feel. Okay, I do not want to cast this coaster, so let me just think about how I want to say this. I feel like there is a good level of competition within this group. So I feel like there should be a good answer as to, where we should be seeing this lobby going. We shouldn't. I don't think we're going to be seeing another rampage like we saw last night. I think the teams are a lot more balanced this time around. I think everyone is still adjusting to obviously the new group, because now all of a sudden we've got the top 10 from Group C and the top 10 from Group D in one lobby, which is, the first time that they've all met each other in the same server. So there's a little bit of adjustment that needs to be made. Dropping points might change this time around. Maybe a composition or change here or two, or maybe some rotation paths will differ, but we'll have to wait and see till the second map if that's going to be the case. But with that adaptation does mean that we might be seeing a different top 5, a different top 10, etc., which I'm keen for. I like that. I like seeing that sort of level of competition because, it just keeps everything interesting. It keeps, on the edge of your seat. You're wondering, okay, who's going to be taking this one? Who's going to be taking the points? And if you remember, towards the latter half of the group stages, Nibble really popped off. I don't know what, if they had a wheat bix bar in between or granola bar or something, maybe a sip of coffee here or there, but suddenly it was a completely different Nibble. And if we're going to be seeing that again tonight, it's going to change. It might change, or it might be a completely different team. I mean, Visimus as well, also one of the teams that took one of those W's in the group stages, and they popped off in the first game. They were hitting trick shots with Eva 8s, man. They were feeling so good with confidence levels. So I'm wondering, Tendo, where do you see this next game going? Obviously, it's going to be almost, the halfway point. Do you think we're going to be seeing adjustments made already, or do you think teams are still feeling each other out?
I think the teams will probably still be feeling each other out a little bit, right? I think in terms of the drop spots, which we saw in the beginning, there weren't too many contestants, right? So I don't think too many teams are going to be looking to change exactly where they landed, right? So most of the rotation paths will probably be pretty similar. There's going to maybe be, I think we had the contestant in Lava City. Maybe one of those teams will decide to go somewhere else and maybe wind up in a spot where they end up contesting a team that we didn't see get contested, right? And that might shake up the rotations and how things are played out, right? But I think you're still in the early stages of the group and you still have to feel things out and see exactly how everybody is playing, right? Because I mean, it's not set in stone. Like you said, you can just pop off final 2 games and then all of a sudden everything's different in the lobby, or, exactly what we saw Nibble do in that group stage. And I mean, Nibble's probably be looking to take the title of the most winning team in the African Throwdown thus far, right? It's sitting with the Cartesians with 4 wins. They're on 3 wins, right? They need to get 1 more now and another after this. Is it possible? I'm not cursing it this time. Thank you. You can send us out as. Let me just not end on that note.
Yeah, no casters goes today. Thank you very much. And it is the question, is Nibble going to be getting revenge, or is it going to be a different team? What are the results going to be? Well, you're going to have to just sit and wait and listen to Tendo and Iro as they take you through it. World's Edge is here. And of course, this is the Apex Legends African Throwdown Cup 2, brought to you by NODWIN Gaming Africa. As I say at casters, please do what you do and take it away.
All right. So pacing in that game, and pacing was a really big topic yesterday, which I felt, really affected the lobby, right? Because we had the Cartesians pretty much dictating the pace of the entire game. It didn't really feel like WRG was doing that, right? I feel like they were playing really well. They were getting a lot of kills, but pacing-wise, it kind of felt like everybody was kind of had their hand on their own gear stick and kind of just controlling exactly how they wanted the game to go.
Yeah, no, for the most part, I think what happened here with WRG is their positioning was so amazing that it didn't feel as if they're moving from one team to the other, but it was just changing their sites to different teams, and that's where they were picking up the eliminations. For us, we saw a couple knocks and so forth, but it wasn't a lot of movement from the team, and maybe our brain sort of depicted an image that, okay, WRG is not that active, but they were definitely active, and it's due to their positioning. And this is something we didn't talk about too much in their group. Their position is probably one of the best. We keep seeing, you know, so much action in the map and so much rotations coming into play, but WRG is never involved directly in that, but instead they're gonna indirectly send off those ammunitions to the oppositions, and it's gonna be eliminations for them. They keep on finding themselves in a better situation, in a better environment, on height and behind the cover, and that's what I really am seeing out from WRG, is that they know how to make the rotations and where to pick up the right positioning.
I think it's like drop spot position as well, right? I think Thermal is pretty slept on in terms of spots. I think it's really big, right? So you can get a lot of loot from the area, and rotation wise, you are pretty much open to a lot of the axes of the maps, right? I mean, you can go all the way north if you take the route where lava is. You can go straight into staging, to harvester, to frag. You know, you can go all the way down to where tree is, to where lawn side is, or you can just cut the path, go into harvester, and kind of make your way into where lava siphon is, right? So the paths are definitely available for WRG, right, to be looking for these teams to be picking up these kills in and around the map, right? But I mean, the answer here, we'll only have to see if they can continue their streak in winning. Ladies and gentlemen, we are dropping in, and teams are finding their spot. I don't see a contention at Lava City, so I'm wondering exactly what the calm was that. And it looks like Swamp Creatures, who did contest Lava City before, have now moved out of their spot. The off-star goes out at 69, who are now involved in the fight. Wait, I feel like the two of them contested each other at Lava City.
They did.
Did the call come in from both squads to just opt to come to the dome? And now everything looks really bad for Swamp Creatures. And it looks like 69's gonna pull on in. And there goes the Havoc charged up, gets the knock back onto Radical. And everything seems to just be going downhill for these two squads, man. They have these options of, hey, guys, Lava City was packed with Swamp Creatures X, you know, 69, let's go somewhere different. And they just wind up running into each other. It looks really detrimental for Swamp Creatures. Cano's the only one up. Has to pop a med. Luckily has that gold armor to work with. Nate is trying to swoop in with the Mozam in hand. Does have his teammate up to work this fight. He is going up against the Gibby, so this could be detrimental. Look at him swing! Yeah, Cano, he's looking for the fight. Pulling in with the EVA 8 to do as much damage. He has a lot of damage in, but it's not enough. And they go down again, Swamp Creatures. They lose. Wait, Nibble's here all of a sudden. They've cleaned up the entire fight. Both teams are out. GG's, I think. Or at least they're about to get cleaned up.
For the most part, I don't see, you know, Kato over here, so definitely this is a different fight that we have. iEnvy looking to be in a tough position as they are contested here, but Wraith managing to pull out that Q and get into a better position, but we are seeing a knock come into play as well.
I got you, brother.
I mean, it almost seems as if Nibble and Envy heard this fight breaking loose. It did go on for a little bit of a while, right? They made some quick rotations to get involved here, and all of a sudden now Nibble at a disadvantage. 20 is down. As well on the opposite side of Envy, there's a couple of players that are down, and you can see Tenchi just trying to look for pops. And Gutbuster's in this angle. Gutbuster's climbing up with Tenchi, and they're gonna get him out. And now Nibble's got all the loot to themselves. They're gonna get their man back in, and explosion of action is the only way to say what's happened here. I mean, you know, first game, it was pretty slow. We didn't see too many fights except for that one Love City contestation. They move things over to the dome, and all of a sudden, everybody comes to this fight.
I honestly do not understand how they managed to think the same for Swamp Cultures and 6ix9ine, because they fought off Spawn last time around and they find themselves yet again on the back-to-back. But for the most part, 6ix9ine did win that fight, so they do have the upper hand when it comes to Swamp Cultures. And, you know, this is a rally now where the players are sort of pinned to the back wall, because 69 Gaming did get those 3 eliminations off Spawn last time around as well as this time, but they're getting 0 placement points, so they're not making it into that top 10 position that we'd like to see them in. They are clutching up their position, but it's now Nibble, you know, to do the most and get their weak picks in, as in most case seems to be the answer that we are seeing from them, because they've already moved on to the dome and it's action across the board.
Yeah, and I mean, they've won that entire side of the map. I mean, all the way to Lava Siphon, there's no squad, so they have full control of that area. The zone's also pulling to it. WRG is in thermal, so WRG is looking primed up to maybe get the back-to-back, but we're in here with the Noob Goats. We're continuing the action here in this second tie in this Group B semi-final. They seem to be dogging down a team that looks to be worse for wear. They're about to break on the in. Thermite's go out as well, and it's 999. They're playing as a duo. The Thermite goes through. The Thermite is going to deter for a while. Seth goes down. So now it looks like Cookie and Mac are holding up together well as a duo. They put themselves in this spot where they can win it out as a duo. They're just trying to run in, try to do as much damage as they can here, the noob goats, and it's not really that effective. The one member is going to queue up to the top, Mac, to try to get a little bit of high ground to work with. And this fight is so up and down, lopsided. Everybody's peeking from every single angle they can. Cookie Moon somehow out. The portal is good to get him on the roof to try to get a little bit of HP. But look at Mac. Look at Mac. Mac is going back in. Mac wants to get something. Everybody's getting... Look, Cookie Moon got sniped from the top. And it's Ali from Visimus. Visimus looking to get involved, and the action just continues going here in the second round as everybody seems to be fighting left, right, and center.
Yeah, this does not look good. As now already active, Scare Neo are in this position. They do position themselves as well on the top of here, so they do have the playing field to aim down on the sides, but for the most part, it doesn't look like they're going to get any eliminations. He's looking at the portal, but there's nobody there. No need to use it. And now Mac trying to do the most he can, but unfortunately it's not going to be enough as he is sent back to the lobby. Pessimus coming in for the little bit of a clean service as they sweep away the eliminations that were here laid out for them.
Yeah, a better look from Visimus. They went out pretty early, I think finishing with no points in that first round, so they really need to dig deep here to just guarantee themselves a comfortable position moving in to that third game. We can see that Nibble's made back their rotation to where they started in launch site. They'll make their way in to that thermal station area. I think WRG is probably the team being a little bit active around there, trying to search a little bit. Now we do have a Valkyrie redeploy here, I believe. I don't think there's jump towers nearby for this one, so the team will be posting up at the top of this compound. And now everybody looks to be making their rotation in to where the zone is.
Yeah, I mean, for somebody who's, going to pull the zone and for the most part be uncontested at thermal, you want to pick up some kills. And talking about kills, Neo doing the most. He's absolutely railing down some ammunition over here, and he's now trying to get into a position of fighting. For the most part, he doesn't know exactly where his enemy has gone into.
Like the comp that they're running as well from Visimus. Very defensive and aggressive, but they still have that mobility. I always throw it back to during the championship in North America. Sentinels ran that exact comp and it played so well for them. They're not really looking to go into those positions that are really dominating, but it's really because the map also changed, right? I believe back then, when Sorting Factory was still there, where Lava Siphon is, there was a really good spot where Valkyrie teams could post up, but they've changed things a little bit, and we saw a glimpse of that area when Vibin managed to win that one game in their group stages. WRG is posted up in thermal stations, so for them, they're here the entire game. They're just going to coast this one out until the very end.
It's crazy, and you can see like these positions. Seth, so did Leaf make it out of this?
Yeah, it looks like he did. Somehow.
This was a team wipe.
Oh no, well, it's about to be a team wipe. Yeah, First in Battle are looking to get Leaf out of this second game. Leaf is evading them for now, but I mean, as soon as they turn the corner around, there's nothing really that Leaf can do, and they're just closing him out, and that's GG clap. 15 squads now. So First in Battle picking up a crucial point that they will need to continue their run in the semi-final. We still have a team all the way at Lava Siphon that really need to make a rotation. I mean, I'm worrying about that team. The Countdown team, obviously First in Battle, need to make a really big rotation right now. We still have a team there in the Fragment side, but most of the teams have easy access into the next zone. So what's really going to be crucial is exactly where that zone will pull.
Yeah, we haven't seen any Bloodhound scans or any of that for the most, so we're not really sure exactly where that zone's going to be, but it does look like Countdown the team at Countdown is making a rotation to another opposition over here. But a weird play coming in to make such far zone rotation and sitting the zone over there. For the most part, they're going to need to start making that rotation very much soon. And Thermal Site is really contested over here, as we do have now Nibble Esports getting involved at the far end against
Tenchi.
Beyond in them.
Tenchi was really weak. They got beamed. He's gonna back off though. It does look like the rest of Nibble's looking to push on in. Seems like there's a lot of traffic maybe around the area because WRG is here. So this fight is gonna be really scary for Nibble if they don't clean up really quick because WRG might look to fish into this. Nibble just bullied this team away from the spot. What the heck? DOFI unable to really hold the spot that they had in mind for this end game. Get bullied away by Nibble. Good call to maybe back off. My man's head almost got taken off by Tenchi. Really aggressive play. He gets the stick, guys, through the doorway. He's going in for this one. You know exactly. It's Tenchi. He isn't backing away from this wingman in the hand here. So now Nibble's looking to close this one off. There is a knock already, it looks like, and they're just coming on in here. Oh my goodness, Nibble, a masterclass on how to bully a squad off a spot that you want. And yeah, they're just gonna stabilize now.
You can see Kofi and his team around as well as Tenchi and them are going to need to make the rotation further into the safe zone. Rex, who lone, and Exo quite low as the boys SN are doing that damage with the R301. There goes the crack shot, but he's managed to now pull off a battery. And this is really crucial for the team because they are farming up that Evo, and really White Rabbit Gaming haven't been that much active like we did see, or like we didn't get to see too much of the activeness, to be fair, in game number 1. But look at their Evos, you know, would have expected all purple across the board. They were at thermal station, so they could have controlled the players coming in. And, you know, it's going to be an early, possibly, engagement that we're going to witness from Nibble and WRG.
Yeah, potentially on this side of the zone. And the shots are rattling off from the wingman by Tenchi. Yeah, playing aggressive as usual. And the thing about WRG... Oh! Yo, Tenchi just takes the head off of Rexy, but I don't think they'll really push that one off. I mean, they'll get that res pretty nice and safe, WRG, but yeah, you said the armor is a really big problem, right? Because, you know, the problem sometimes, obviously, with selecting to play the zone rotation or selecting to play zone is you're obviously falling really short on those utilities, right? You don't have the meds to back yourself up, maybe even the grenades, and you kind of just have to hold the spot hoping that your next fight will gift you all the loot that you really need. The boys are looking to make a really odd rotation here. I wonder if they're going to try to take this high ground that's in the thermal station, or they're going to try to reposition elsewhere. Dangerously close to where Nibble is, but they're not going to go directly to where they're at. They're going to rather sit on the edge of the zone, but it's Nibble, man. So you know Tenchi is looking for this. You know he's hungry.
Yeah, and for the most part, they know they've been dealing the damage. They know they're on whites. They know they're on blues. So to go into the situation and try get an elimination is going to be crucial. Tenchi, however, he's going to be setting up those Kobe's, and it does look like maybe he's going to connect, will he?
It doesn't really look like he gets it in, but more nades are being flown out as they try to lob in and do as much damage as they can. Somehow the team is alive and not really taking too much damage of the boys, but Nibble is looking to close them off. And they don't have a really good armor situation as well. Look at Tenchi through the windows here. Like a freaking bat just hanging on the ledge, shooting from the window, dealing so much damage, and maybe it'll be enough for his teammates to try and make something happen. Caustic will be Caustic, right? So Gutbuster can push into this fight. They've done a lot of damage onto Cold Fire, and Gutbuster's in, PK in hand, gets the one knock. So now really good opening for Nibble. The Wraith is on the outskirts, and not too sure if anybody's really aware of where he is, but I mean, the rest of the squad is just getting farmed on the inside, man. He's got to be in there helping them out. And again, they're just bullying teams of these spots that they want, Nibble.
Yeah, it does look like they do get that team wipe as Tenchi, so also able to find that Wraith on the outskirts. Cam getting elimination on the kill feed. We are seeing the carries coming through with a good a game this time around. Thermal station still sort of occupied by WRG only, and this is this is going to be interesting in terms of when the north side start making that rotation. There's a little bit of a pinch on that pathway as now you can see the two players are trying to disengage, and it does look like for the most part the team to hold the area is going to be first in battle, so they are trying to get in a better game for themselves. And we do see Razo, Supreme, Shaka, and Woofy get eliminated out of here, and the person to do it is going to be Cam.
Cam's been putting up a lot of numbers in the lobby thus far. Jared comes in with that R301, and we saw Jared's R301 during the group stage can be a real big menace with the R301. as they look to be really aggressive, and they're playing an aggressive comp here from the Caras, right? They're playing Octane, Bloodhound, and Pathfinder, so they're really looking to just dive into as many fights as they can, catch some teams off guard. They have mobility, this man sliding down the hill and getting fried by Jared and this R301, and they now have this opening and Cam swooping around the corner, and look at the Caras. This is a team of streamers, ladies and gentlemen, but they're yet to compete. Look at the send from Jared as he tries to clean up this poor Wraith player. It's Chronic, who gave us such a show with the Kraber in the group stages going down, unfortunately, yeah. And Jared's the kill leader. And the Caras are playing the zone well here, right? Iroh, this is how you play, you know, edge of zone. You form squads as you make your way in, but you gotta be really confident with it.
Yeah, you do, and for the most part, it does look like the Beams is playing a crucial role with that R301 in the hands of Jared, as he is doing the most for the team. But talk about Cam as well, as he's able to be a hand in partner to deal with the damage and get those eliminations. A Portal play going in for a good rotation. White Rabbit also now, you can see full on purple, so they've been sort of dealing damage there. 20 now needing to take a battery. Gutbuster just sitting in some canisters, so in case anyone is going to be making any of the rotations, you do have a little bit of a defense mechanism going in there.
Really interested that JSN hasn't really been a big topic for tonight, right? But, you know, I'm not really criticizing in terms of, like, they're playing the game, you know, how it's meant to be played. They're trying to get into these final zone position, picking up some fights that they can see on the outskirts, right? But they're not really showing that dominance that we saw from them in the group stages. But it's the nade story, it seems like, in this affair, in this group stage. It's just nades and defensive bombardments left, right, and center. Nerdish is still alive. JSN is still alive, though, even though so much damage was dealt. Look at Cam Siege in the lobby, guys. Look at Caras. They're on an absolute rampage, taking down another team. Cam Siege is now kill leader in the lobby. The Caras, yeah. Look, guys, look. Caramel's not here, and he's really getting this carry. Onto you, Iroh.
I can't say that enough. I mean, for the most part, it looks like this is the alpha Caras carry. I mean, we're gonna have to see what Caramel will do in the finals, if he's even gonna be around for that one over there. But Nibble Esports as well has been, you know, for the most part active. You've been seeing them getting in those Kobe's, trying to get in that damage. And Tendo, it's so exciting how, like, the semi-finals has 10 squads in the zone over here, but there's been so much elimination.
Yeah, so many eliminations, so much Valkyrie, right? Because yesterday it was the storyline of the Revenant, Octane, and today it's apparently Caustic and Valkyrie and just trying to fly away. This man just got beamed out of the air with the L-Star from 20, and Nibble's just on the side of the zone here, in the spot, just dealing as much damage as they can. And how is he connecting these shots with the L-Star from this distance, man? This gun is difficult to use from range, right? It's very mid-range, close range. And from a distance like that, it's really difficult, but really impressed with how Nerdish has been making rotations. It does look like Vicimus is going up against Caras, who have been going on a rampage in the lobby. Vicimus might be the Grim Reaper in that situation. WRG as well, getting involved in a couple of fights where they are at and picking up some very crucial kill points moving on into this next round. We have 9 squads in this lobby right here, ladies and gentlemen. This is the African Throwdown, hosted by NODWIN Gaming, and this is just the semi-finals. Imagine the finals. When it all comes down to the crux of things, it's going to be spicy. It's going to be hectic.
It is going to be the best of the best, you know, sort of going into the plays. But I like Nerdish right now as they keep on disengaging into the safe parts of the zone. Nobody's going to be really focusing on them, and they're going to be hugging that zone rotation. So for the most part, where everyone is sort of stationed around the thermal station right now, it's going to be interesting to see what will be the play. Saboteur, Dash, and Nay Streams, which is JSN if I'm not mistaken, are going to find himself in the center of this entire endgame right now, and that could be where, you know, detrimental for the team going into the first sort of rotation that we are seeing right now.
Nerdish in a tough spot, right? You know, they have to make a lot of, you know, things work with as little cover as they have, and you just got Vicimus at the top here, and it's the Gibbies and the G7 scouts that just absolutely pelt down on teams, and you don't really have an answer for that kind of range, you know, if you're not really going with your own G7 scout. The bubble is forced there. That could be WRG. Whoa, look at Scare drop down on this player. I'm suspecting that's going to be JSN. This rotation is going to be really tough. Ali goes down over here to the hands of, it looks like one of the JSN members. Can't really make things out, and it's absolutely popping off here. It's only Neo who's up. He has a flatline. He gets the one knock. It's going crazy. He has to pull out the R99. It's not enough. JSN cleaned things up. It looks like Salvatore is going to hold on just long enough. WRG versus Nibble is happening right now with 6 squads left. Tenshi's looking in a really tough spot. He's down. It's all up to 20. Luckily, he was playing Horizon and is able to get away into a little bit of safe haven. Everything is just popping off left, right, and center here, Iru.
Yeah, WRG looking to be maybe the team to get it back-to-back. EXO needing to kill. Doesn't look like for the most part he's doing so. The All-Star alone is just a massacre of blood that as we see the beams coming to effect. The Q being dropped as well. And you still have all these teams in this sorts of situation. Such a small area to take on this action.
So much action breaking loose from everywhere. People are just surviving on slithers of HP. I don't know how 20 is alive. Just trying to coast everywhere. He's going for the res onto Tenshi. And if somehow they get up and make this work, it'll be a story to behold. And the entire roster of JSN is back up. Cam is still involved in this situation. Look at where WRG is. They're fighting JSN, if I'm not mistaken. It's going south for WRG all of a sudden as JSN is taking this one. No, they go down. Rexu's up. Salvatore actually cleans it up. He cleans WRG up. JSN still in the situation, but look at where Cam is. Cam can be a threat. Trent's still up, trying to beam as much as he can with the L-Star. It's chaos. It's carnage left, right, and center. 5 squads are still up. Loowe versus 20 here. Nibble need to make something happen. The armor swap is good from 20. JSN is back up on their feet. JSN can still make this one happen. They can come and clean this one up, but we still have a full squad of 3 on the opposite side there. Loowe on so low HP. JSN now looking to swoop around the corner. Somehow there's still 4 squads. I don't even know why. Now it's down to 3. Cam is still up doing a madness for carries. Everything's steadying down just for a second.
And we do, for the most part, see 2,000
What
damage.
is Nerdish again?
Nerdish with the Valkyrie as they continue to make the rotations in the sky. Can they stay on the sky for the longest time? Doesn't look like it has. They're gonna now jump onto JSN.
What? Why are they jumping onto JSN? I'm so confused. JSN is primed and ready for this situation, and they're absolutely wiping out the team of Nerdish. Who's up? I can only imagine it has to be Cam or somebody like that, a rat. Somewhere in and around, and it is Cam Siege back against the wall. 80K's very own Cam. He's doing a madness though, but it's not enough. And JSN clutch it up. And there they are, JSN.
JSN. You said, where was this team for the most part? And they had to answer you, Tendo. They had to give you the answer. And there you go, a champion moment. And not only that, but a dominating game that we had to witness out from JSN. What a spectacular performance.
No.
Proxy.
Listen. How am I supposed to break that down? Please explain to me how I'm supposed to break that down.
I don't know, man. As soon as Nerdish was going up in the sky, I was like, what is going on at this point? You know, just like, it just seemed as if you couldn't predict anything to happen, right? It's just so many squads stacked on top of each other. Just an all-out warfare. It's like World War I. They're back in the trenches, just trying to dog it out for their countries or something, you know, guys.
Listen, JSN really coming strong there. I mean, they had such good positioning. They were holding strong. I don't even know how many teams they took out there at the end. We're going to have to wait for the standings to see how many kills they picked up just because of the sheer amount of teams and numbers they were piling on them. And also, big shout out to Cam Siege coming in as the super sub for the Caras carries, managing to get them to 2nd place, ratting it out like an absolute champion there for the team, which means they're going to be picking up some placement points, which means they should be absolutely elated right now in Discord chat. Wherever they're at, they should be hyped and ready for this because they picked up some mean points there. And WRG and Nibble,
they were doing a madness though, right? It's crazy. Like,
it was insane.
Everybody there, I mean, top 10 performance, I think, from everybody. That was a really good show and probably one of the most exciting games I've casted of Apex Legends. And Cam Siege coming in, ATK's newest content creator. He's a content creator coming in and putting up pro numbers. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's kind of crazy.
8 kills and 2.3k damage dealt for the man himself, Cam Siege, doing his absolute best there for the Caras carries as the super sub coming into this one. And it's insane to think about how that last squad came through. Obviously, you know, we had so many teams once again towards those final zones, but so many teams falling to that, you know, that sandwich situation. You know, 20 as a prime example, running for his dear life with the armor swaps, trying to just whittle around the spacing there of that hilltop, trying to stay alive for Nibble, but it was just absolute beams, whether it was behind him, to the left of him, to the right of him. Everyone was looking for any possible kills there, and there was a lot of kill steals coming through. So I'm very, very interested to see what those standings are going to look like. But of course, we gotta wait. We gotta wait for just a little while longer while we go to a short break. And when we come back, we'll take a look at those standings. And obviously, as this is the halfway point, we're going to get ready for that third match. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about what we've seen so far and maybe what we think we're going to be seeing later. I don't know. I can't even predict this, so I don't think I'll make my casters do that. But for the moment, stay with us. The action is right around the corner. It's the Apex Legends African Throwdown, brought to you by NODWIN Gaming. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone, to the Apex Legends African Throwdown, brought to you by NODWIN Gaming Africa. Yo, I'm not going to try and summarize that second map. I'm just going to go straight to standings. We're just going to look at numbers because these numbers have to make sense because that game did not make sense. We had such a crazy, chaotic last moments of that second map that I can't even put to words what we witnessed, but it was beautiful and scary at the same time. Ira, if you would please take us through these numbers.
Ooh, Caras carry coming in first though, but it's a tie with JSN 22 points. Look at those eliminations. You have to love to see it. Nibble Esports coming in third with 15. Loowe C coming in fourth. Nerdish ZA in fifth with 8. Vermesis. Sixth place. White Rabbit ZA in 7th. First in Battle in 8th. A 69 in 9th. Okay, Nexus Gaming in 10th, and they're gonna grab themselves 2 placement points. And man, interesting top 10 going into the game number 2 over here.
You know, we asked the question, you know, what are we going to see for the next match coming through? And because we had such a competitive lobby, and now I can comfortably say that we have such a competitive lobby for the second semi-finals group that, you know, that top 10, that top 5 is going to look vastly different after these games because every single team is just pulling it at 100 immediately on all revs, on all cylinders. They are going for these points. They are going for those W's because every single one of these teams wants one of those 10 slots moving into the finals. As I can understand, you know, they want a piece of that prize pool. They want the bragging rights that they made it as the best in Africa. And of course, we want to be able to see that crazy, crazy finals coming to a fruition. Tendo, if we talk about it, right, we were sitting off camera, obviously trying to understand what happened, what we saw. And what I'm loving is the change in composition. We mentioned this briefly, you know, how vastly different semifinals one's groups compositions were compared to tonight. It's literally like polar opposites. You know, last night it was the Rev 10, it was the Octane, it was Horizons, you know, rates coming in. Tonight, obviously, we got a little bit of that here and there, but Valkyrie and Caustic making such an appearance. I mean, also like last night was Sia. Tonight, you know, it's in between. Bloodhounds are there, Sia's there. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think it's just adapting to what the lobby has, you know, and what is going on in these zones, right? And you see, Valkyrie came in at a specific time in the Apex Legends comp where everything was pretty methodical in terms of just like, okay, said team is playing this comp and they're moving like this and they're going to this spot and they're holding this location and the fights will be here and it'll be tough to rotate when fights are happening there. But with Valkyrie, you have that option of just saying, hey guys, let's just send it right into the sky and fly past all these people and find a spot to play in, right? So now you kind of dictate and change the pacing of the game, and you kind of prolong a lot of, you know, your life inside the lobby, right? Because that's what we saw with Nerdish. Every time it was like, hey, it's sticky, boys, let's get out. They were out and they were good. At the end, questionable, but you know what? It worked for them.
It worked for them indeed. Whether or not we're going to see that in the third map of your second day of semi-finals is the question. Of course, Tendo and Ira will be answering for you as they take you in to the third map of World's Edge for the Apex Legends African Throwdown Cup 2, brought to you by NODWIN Gaming Africa. Guys, please take us into this action.
All right, so third game, pretty crucial game, I feel, right? Coming into this one in the series, because this is the one that will probably make you either come into that fourth game feeling pretty confident and comfortable that, you know what, let's start preparing for our grand finals run, and or just shaking in your boots that, hey guys, we really need to pull up a number here or else it's curtains for us, right? You know what I mean, Iro? So what's the strategy coming into this third game? Now that you've had your feel of the lobby, you know exactly how people are playing, where people will be dropping, what exactly do you do? What do you change? What do you implement?
Honestly, like, we are seeing like game number 2 not having even like 10th place only had 2 points. Yeah. So even if you're celebrating that 10th place, it's not really going to be interesting. And what am I hearing on UFO? What's happening?
No, I'm just saying like
Oh yeah,
sitting at
yeah, okay.
template.
I
And
thought
it's
maybe
kind of
someone's a
interesting.
Repton.
It's kind of interesting, right? Because if you see 69, they were in that top 10, but they came out pretty much at like
They
8th,
came up.
18th or like 19th,
Yeah.
right? But it's just because they were able to clean up swamp creatures, how crucial those kill points were for them, right? And
Yeah.
that's the difference to where swamp creatures is probably sitting now and where 69 is, right? Probably under a little bit more pressure, swamp creatures.
Honestly, like that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So, game number 2 was a bit of a dominant coming in from Caras and them, because I mean they didn't even get the champion, but they get the first place position. WRG for the most part, they looked like they went all the way into the abyss. They only pull out with 6 points. So game number 2, even if you made it into top 10, it wasn't enough, because game 1 really set the tone, really set how much points you really need going into the positions over there. So yeah, this for the most part, the teams that just snailed their way into top 10 game number 2, they're going to need to do even more than that and try get top 3, top 4 if they want to see themselves go into the next stage. But this is the African Throwdown. We always feel like the team doesn't do enough, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, how did you get into this top 5 position? It's like, what happened? So I don't want to do the predicting and the talking as much, but we're just gonna have to wait and see what these 2 games over here. 999 doing the most already off spawn. Tendo take it through.
They're in a bit of a sticky fight. It would seem like one player is already down, and I wonder if it's one of those teams that we saw earlier contesting Lava City. No, it's a complete switch up all of a sudden. It's Loowe in this fight, but they've cleaned it up and they're looking good. And it's interesting right here, because it's just these squads that just can't find a home that's really working for them. You have WRG as well as Nibble. I think even Visimus, they're pretty set on their drop spot. Even JSN hasn't really changed from where they've dropped. They just know exactly where to play and how to play. But we still have these teams that aren't really comfortable with their drop spots, and they're always looking for new places. Look at how active Nibble is already. They're looking to get in this area. It looks like Swamp Creatures did take Lava City and it calls it their home. But look, they're in already. 20's looking to get involved, and they've pretty split up the team there.
Honestly, Gutbuster has so much faith in 20 and Tenchi, because I'm always seeing them in the front end of the map. However, it does look like Gutbuster is going to now swift in and fly into the area over here, and maybe we're going to see a team wipe coming in from Nibble Esports, as they do have the advantage in terms of utilities, HP, but it's Tenchi with a white Evo, and he's in the front leading the pack into getting some eliminations. And Loowe over here, we've seen some mad things with Tenchi and a wingman. Will we be able to see that for the most part here? The question.
Oxstar goes out to blow the door. Oh, did he get that stick? Oh my goodness, Tenchi with the Oxstars is absolutely insane. Nibble is literally just, they're like surgeons.
Tendo, we didn't see anything. Nothing
we didn't see anything. Nothing happened, guys.
Nibble's just just looting up. Nothing happened.
They're just doing their regular clean up of this side of the zone, north side. Swamp Creatures gotta get out of there real quick, or else Nibble might just run up on them. But we're here at Skyhook with the Noob Goats, who seem to have taken out a squad, so they're doing pretty good for themselves.
Yeah,
most
definitely.
Part. I think that was SimplySecluded, who I don't think have been having a really good day out on the street, right? And I think they're gonna have to pull up some good numbers in that final game if they really want to be in this conversation of the final. But look at the zone as well. We haven't really commented on it pulling towards that epicenter, fragments and fragment east, fragment west side. And I think it's kind of an interesting pull.
I think for all the group stages and all the time I've been casting alongside you, it's only done it once, and it was in the Group C, and it's done it again here today, and we'll have to see exactly who dominated. But in the Group C, it was Nibble Esports who got that early positioning, and they were the only ones in the squad, even though they had to rotate from south to north. But we're going to have to wait and see what this would mean now, as DOFI are finding themselves in an engagement, and Radioactive is honestly being active right here, trying to get in the eliminations. DOFI is down to 2 members, so it's not going to be an easy fight, and that is why they're trying to fast and furious away themselves into a better play. But for the most part, it doesn't look like Visimus is going to be quitting anytime soon on this engagement.
It does look like The team of 69 and Envy are in a bit of a fight here. Exchanges on both sides, it would look like. So I'm not too sure how the tables are turning there. Actually, lots of teams are making a really fast rotation to get to where the zone is, which is pretty interesting to see. I wonder if that WRG is going to play this one a little bit slower this time around. Maybe hug edge of zone and see if they can farm up some kills, because they haven't really rotated too quickly. Nexus Gaming caught Archer at the epicenter, making their way into the zone. Laggy Boys trying to hold them out. And the L-Star, I feel like, you know, has really come into this lobby as, along with the G7 Scout, it's just like the pivotal weapons, right? That's doing a lot of damage, that is really guaranteeing teams these rotations, farming Evo shields, and just putting up a lot of damage that is really helping out these squads.
Yeah, definitely. And for the most part, like you've mentioned, it is a hard weapon to control. The recoil has to be in place and in a right situation. We did see over there that it wasn't really going in favor. But however, we do have the Caras carry now going on top of Laggy Boys. But they're going to go and run into the tunnel to get some cover. Cam Siege with a madness in game number 2 is going to probably be depicting again yet for game number 3.
The team is going to back away from that fight. The ulti does deter their push, so things will calm down just for a little bit as they make their rotation in. And I mean, lots of teams are pretty much in the zone. There's just a couple of stragglers that will probably be making their way in. We have about 3 squads already posted up in Fragment. Epicenter, there's a bit of a back and forth happening. There is a team that will collide. No, it's the team that went in the tunnel, obviously, that, you know, the team of Caras was pushing. They can collide into each other. I don't know who will get the sneak on the other. I do believe the team is down below underground, so Caras should have that high ground advantage for the most part. I'm sure Nibble's making their way down in through the lava siphon right now. I'm not too sure what JSN would be on their rotation. Oh, Jared's down here from Rebirth, so things are looking a little bit grim now for Caras as Cam is trying to swoop on over to try and make this happen, and Laggy Boys are coming back for revenge, but the beams are coming in strong here from Cam, but he's taking up a lot of damage. Jared's gonna be back up. The nades come through from Laggy Boys, who are still a full trio up. They have taken up a lot of damage, but they're holding off for the time being. It's a bit of a stalemate. It looks like Caras are gonna go for the low ground and opt to get out. For now, they aren't out for the count. Yeah, it's just a little bit tense. Obviously, you don't want to go out too early in this situation. And one of the team is going to be rogue and drop down that tunnel.
Yeah, it would be crazy to see, but how the tables have turned as now Reapers and them are above, and what a good play from them, you know, to sort of counter behind, and that was unexpected from, you know, the team Caras carry, because they were just sitting ducks until the beams came through and Jared was knocked, but they played that really well to actually get the revive and then get into a position where they're safe, and it does look like they're going to be rotating completely out of the tunnels over there and maybe into now Fragment East. And we do have, for the most part, a lot of teams in this zone, which I'm really looking forward to, but it does look like Caras carry and Nibble are maybe going to find each other, as Tenchi is probably in that front end, and there's a couple shots already taking play over there.
Yeah, and I mean, there's going to be so much traffic in Frag East side, right? There's so many teams kind of stacked on top of each other, and here he comes back again, Tenchi with the nades. Doesn't get the stick this time, unfortunately, but he's still peeking through here and takes the head off of the one. I don't think he got the knock, though. The knock came from somewhere else, but Tenchi's diving into this to try to deal as much damage. It does look like 20's here to just come and follow through on this, and the EVA 8 is just doing so much, and Jared goes down. And yeah, they did run into each other, definitely. Unfortunately, it does look like Caras are coming off worse or where. Cam seems to be out. And maybe it's just Cam alive, but we've seen what Cam can do as a solo. WRG have made a fast rotation into the zone, and they're holding close to the Fragment side. So Cam's got to be careful not to run into them. But for now, it does look like Cam's probably playing solo for the remainder of this game, and it's a little bit unfortunate. I mean, it's the tale of BR, you know, RNG just sometimes doesn't pull in your favor, you know, you just run into the likes of Nibble, you know, it might be a young WRG, maybe even Visimus, and unfortunately, sometimes it's tough to win those kind of fights, but Iro, look at the zone, man. Look at all these teams.
It's looking really, really good. I'm really excited to see exactly what is going to unfold for us here, Tendo. I mean, literally NODWIN Gaming that's taking us to a 5-star restaurant to eat all this action over here this evening, because it is exactly that. I'm really enjoying the action we have gotten. JSN have been active, Caras carry as well, Nibble Esports, and it just doesn't end over here. The Valkyrie is going into the sky, the Observers honestly getting as much as they can, and it feels like the action just keeps on continuing. But for the most part, it's Rebirth who's now going to be taken out, and I don't know if that's going to be a full team wipe as it is for them, but tough to say what that means for Laggy.
Once again, we have WRG and Nibble facing each other in a fight, and look at the contrasting playstyles, right? Tenchi and Exo are kind of playing that same aggressive, searching role. Oh no, Rexu's down. Rexu needs to get up on his feet. Lone is able to pop that one off, and ulti's coming through. The dome has to get popped immediately just to hold on for now. It does look like Nibble will push up onto this. There's a counter ulti on the side of WRG right now. Rexu doesn't have too much HP for now. Nibble making a good call to get out of there. They're evacuating. They don't really want to enter onto this fight and put themselves in a bad position. There will be lots of teams in the area. So for now, good counter ulti coming in from Rex to just hold after getting knocked, and the teams are back.
And we did see the same situation actually in the Group C's in the same buildings yet again. So it is just a replica and deja vu sort of feeling that we are getting right now, as the gunfires back and forth, but it's not going to be too crazy as Lone somehow loses a lot of HP, and that's going to need him to, I don't know, I think so.
Yeah, he's down.
Maybe.
They're getting the res onto him right now. GP at least is in play, so he'll be back on his
Killers who's getting in that third parties as well, so interesting to see. And this is what you're mentioning now, is that there's so many teams around, so to engage on a 3v3 head-on is going to be very dangerous for you.
Yeah, it will be really dangerous, right? You don't want to open yourself up, especially if one player gets knocked, and it takes so much time, right? I must commend Apex has a really quick rest time. I think you can also, agree on that. But because Apex is so fast-paced, it almost feels like centuries when you're trying to put somebody back on their feet, right? So you never want to put your team in a position where you're knocked and they have to play in a 2v3. Swamp Creatures, a better look from them this time, not getting contested off the job, so they will be able to hold for a little bit longer. They've got a decent spot to play from, depending on how the zone will be pulling. It does look like Jason is getting some kills as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is where the RNG really plays a crucial role that we get to witness in the Apex Legends. The off-spawn, you're going to get yourself a pistol versus R301, but if you're able to get your full desired loadout, we can then see the true talent, and maybe talent coming out from Swamp Creatures, as now they are looking to make the W key onto Seth and Leaf, but they're gonna get the Q out of Octane and make that rotation. He's opted in for single fire rounds on his flat line, only connecting a little bit of the shots. It doesn't look like for the most part that Radical and his team are gonna be quitting on this engagement, and they're gonna get involved over here, and it does look like they're able to find a player and they get a good knock. Radical doing the most here for Swamp Creatures as they get another kill point to their name, and this is where we get to see the talents out of the players that sort of die of spawn. They don't get that POVs that we need to see them in the mid games over here, Tendo.
Yeah, definitely. It's a bit unfortunate for the team. Just Leaf now having to run away and try rat this out for as long as he can. WRG and Nibble, though in the same vicinity, are taking up different fights, and the zone's not going to be pulling in this fragment side. It's going to be pulling towards that train track area. So now teams will have to be making their way towards that side. Does look like they just cleaned up a fight here, WRG. Nobody's really close to them to be a big threat, so they will be able to stabilize for the most part as they clean things up and get their loot back up. Yeah, I mean, do you know who's kill leader right now in the lobby? Hey, Iro, I'm kind of curious.
I think I did see Tenchi earlier on with 4 kills as kill leader.
Oh wait, look, he's only got 3 as kill leader. So
3, okay.
For the most part, rotation-wise, it's kind of odd, right? It doesn't seem like teams are really getting any fights to stack up some kills.
Yeah, no. So they honestly, been active, but 3 kills as kill leader this late. means, you know, a lot of people are just falling short, and Nexus Gaming finding himself in a tough position.
Yeah, ulti comes through from 20 there and gets stuck in, and now they're just gonna try run away. Luckily, they're still 2 up, so there's still a lot of hope for them to work with. Still 12 squads in the zone, man. I mean, it's really hectic for teams that are struggling with these rotation paths, and especially with Nibble being so active around the zone, trying to look for as many fights as they can to clean up any of these stragglers. It's proving to be a difficult task. Zone will close up. We do know it is going to be pulling towards that train track side. So now everybody's going to be aware of that, and you'll just see immediately as everybody will probably start to realize that, all right, guys, we are definitely not safe where we are. The team that's not safe is Early Access. Ellie comes through with a nice little wingman shot there around the corner. Laggy Boys is the opposition.
To see Laggy Boys in this position, I didn't get to see too much from them, but game number 1 they did really pull in with that top 5 reburst, somehow trying to engage as a solo. In the rate of, he's gonna get beamed by Rush right now, and this is really the call to W key, as already the team has set in the base over here.
He's coming in here, swooping around the corner with the Hellstar, frying the counter Gibby there. Zelly trying to pop up some wingman shots to stay alive for as long as he can. He's doing a little bit, but not enough to really deter this push, and they're just gonna swoop on in and take him out, and that's a little bit unfortunate. WRG's here. Look at where EXO is. EXO's come on in. Yasuke's down, and now WRG is coming in to take care of the team that just did the same. And yeah, they're just gonna try run from different directions away from WRG. They're just coming in like the absolute night watch, man. They just like, hey, what you guys doing over here? Oh, let's get involved. We got you. And yeah, even 8 shots coming through from Lone. Doesn't find the knock though, so this is taking a little bit longer than it needs to though, right, Iron?
Yeah, and for Lone and them, they needed to clean that up as quick as possible because it was a surprise attack. Here's a couple of third parties that are also here. Rex, who taking up quite the damage now, needing to take the battery. But perfect timing that we're getting out from WRG as they now find themselves maybe getting another elimination. And look at the movement coming in from Laggy as he just dances around Lone of this GG. But Nibble Esports seems to be that third-party action that we are witnessing out from the hills over here.
Nye is there in the corner. Salvatore and Dash, so Jason, they're still alive as well. WRG, JSN and Nibble in this conversation, but WRG's position is really tough to make this rotation, and they're in line of sight of Nibble, and it seems like a revenge story from back in Fragment now. WRG pinned against the zone. No real room to work with. An alternator in the hand of Atenshi, so he can really do a lot of damage. JSN's also involved in this fight. Visimus on the other side there can be a really big threat. I think Swamp Creatures is also still involved. So that looks like the teams have been rounded off. If my numbers are correct, unless I'm missing maybe a solo. Does look like the team of Visimus goes down to the hands of Nine, the boys here. JSN holding the spot, and essentially they're gatekeeping the 2 teams here of WRG and Nibble, but Nibble has a bit of an easy rotation around this mountain to work with compared to what WRG is, so really tough spot for them.
Yeah, for the most part, WRG is sort of in a sandwich over here because left and right they do have the oppositions over here, but 4 squads, 12 players remain. Not sure exactly who the other ones. Oh, okay, it's Radical on them, sort of being the shadows here, not trying to get involved in any action as JSN and WRG are sort of engaging over here.
Yeah, they're moving on top of each other really close. Rexu's down to a literal 1 HP as he's alive. It doesn't look like anybody's gonna aggress onto that damage, so everything is still calm. And I mean, hey, I think in terms of the final 4 squads, this is a really tough matchup to go up against, right? I mean, Swamp Creatures were really struggling in the beginning, right? They were getting contested by 69, who just seemed to have the upper hand, but ever since everything changed after that, they seem to be finding their form here, and they looked really good in the group stages. You know, they performed quite well, you know, finishing in the top 5, if I'm not mistaken. So now, going up against, obviously, WRG, JSN, and Nye, who are all top 3 squads. It's going to be really tough to see how this one closes off.
the most part here, EXO is sort of separated from his team, so if he's gonna get any W key, he would be tough. But JSN somehow disengaging. There's that W key we saw now from Nibble as JSN are going onto Swamp Creatures, and the BK at hand is doing the most. EXO quite low on HP, and it does look like for the most part he's able to breathe a little and use some consumables.
Yeah, Nibble's holding the spot though. Nibble's trying to beam from here. Everybody's fighting in front of them, and they're not really getting involved in this situation. Nibble's looking to clean up their 4th win in the African Throwdown. Look at the absolute carnage that's happening between Swamp Creatures and JSN. WRG is still up. EXO's really low. Tenchi's looking to get a little bit cheeky here around the corner. The meds aren't really popped for WRG, but they're doing good to hold off Tenchi. There's still 4 squads up, so 1 member from Swamp Creatures is still alive somewhere in the zone, holding on, as it looks like WRG is getting sent on. Nibble still holding off. JSN still holding off as well. It's so lopsided, all these fights. Everybody's kind of positioned in different areas. Actually, there's 2 members up for Swamp Creatures, if I'm not mistaken. It looks like they're still involved in this fight. It's so much back and forth from everywhere. Jason is going down though. It's just nice down. 3 squads left. Swamp Creatures is still up. It's still Arson holding things off. And the solos today have been the storyline, I think. Yeah, Iro. WRG and Nibble though. Here's the fight that we've all been waiting for.
It is gonna be that 1v1 situation. Swamp Creatures needs to stay quiet, try grab that 2nd place for them. But look where Lone and EXO and Rexo are sort of positioned. That is a height of advantage. And now you can see sort of like cover play for the Nibble Esports as they just put on a respawn beacon, but it's not just, it's just there for cover as Swamp Creatures now get eliminated. And it's the 1v1 that we love to see in this endgame. Who is gonna come out on top?
Early dome comes in from WRG. Bit of a misplay, I wonder. They might need that dome a little bit earlier. Nibble's trying to make the play. Nibble has the high ground to work with, but look at Rex. Rex is trying to be active and get a really cheeky angle. Rex is dealing a lot of damage from there, as well as Tenchi. They're weak. One's down on the side of WRG. They're looking to send this one in. It's all up to Lone to try to do as much as he can. But look at Nibble playing together as a formulated unit. And they take them out. And Nibble come in to get their 4th win overall in the African Throwdown.
Massive. And we talked about how important that Q timing is here, and we saw a perfect example coming out from WRG on when to place it, and they placed it on way too early, and that costed them the champion as Nibble Esports now come into a 4th win in the African Throwdown Cup number 2.
And did you say they're currently tied with Carthaginians now, 4-4 apiece? So
And there's 1 game left, and if they win this 1 game, imagine the storyline that would uphold for the grand finals. Right now, we'll see like Carthaginians versus Nibble, who is the best. Anyways, back to you. Yes.
But it's exactly that, you know, we're trying to see, okay, well, who's going to come out, obviously, in the semi-finals, moving on to those finals, who are going to meet the Carthaginians. Because ATK were the closest answer we had, or between ATK and 2 Noobs 1 Cheater that we had to, you know, taking on the Carthaginians, who could stop them, etc., etc. But now, I think we might be seeing a real contender here. We might be seeing an entire lobby of real contenders. So far, it's been pretty competitive. I mean, we had, you know, obviously JSN taking the first game, then we had WG coming through, and now we had Nibble Esports, and obviously this MVP being well-deserved by Tenchi with 8 kills and 2.3k damage, absolutely coming in strong there for the Nibble team as they are looking to get those points up on the board and secure themselves one of those 10 slots moving on to the next phase. And it's been interesting. I think so far we've had such a vastly different composition coming through. We've had such a vastly different sort of a treat really of the play styles in which, like, you know, this lobby's been so quiet and strategic, but it's been really fun to watch, especially in those last moments where the chaos really just breaks out. Iro, what have you been thinking about tonight's game so far?
Amazing. They've honestly set the gameplay that I want to watch in finals. I'm hoping that it is going to be better, but this is the situations you want to find in, you know, especially coming out from Nibble Esports and WRG. It is chapter 2 to their story, because they go back and front yet again in the situations of semifinals 2. You know, it's not easy finding themselves battling it out, but only it has to come to it because they are the elite of the lobby, and they're always finding themselves interacting some way or another, whether it was mid-game that we did see a knock coming in from Nibble, but they didn't engage, but they finally, get that eliminations and so forth towards the end and win that entire game. It is amazing. The competitiveness that we are getting out of the semifinals too has been so juicy, and it's been so amazing to watch exactly how it unfolds, and the end games is such a good story, honestly.
Well, as Sandra said, there is one more game on the schedule for you tonight. Of course, with the Apex Legends African Throwdown, the action never stops, but we'll be pausing. So as we go to this quick break, please stay with us. The action's right around the corner, and you do not want to miss it. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to the Apex Legends African Throwdown, brought to you by NODWIN Gaming Africa. Of course, we are heading into a last map of the semifinals, day 2, and we will know at the end of the match, at least, who's going to be going through to our finals completely. All 20 teams ready and dusted for those games. Hopefully, those are going to be just as insane as what today has been. Thus far, we've had a pretty interesting storyline, but of course, this is your third match standings. The overall standings we will see at the end of the stream. Tendo, if you would, please take us through it.
Of course, we have Nibble Esports coming in with that first place with 16 kills, man. I mean, they were on a complete rampage, and their counterparts in today's first WRG do nothing but, the same with 10 kills of their own. After that is JSN coming in at third. Swamp Creatures doing much better in this run, and hopefully it's going to be good enough for them to come into this fourth game to try and can guarantee a spot in their grand finals. Noob Goats at 5th place, 6th place 69, Visimus at 7th place, Laggy Boys at 8th, Loowe at 9th, and then first in battle running off our top 10 down there.
Yeah, it's weird to see first in battle there, especially after the Kraber madness that we saw Chronic Anomaly bringing in, but it's just how the cookie crumbles. And at this moment in time, obviously a lot of teams have been, some getting into those points where they needed to be, and some unfortunately falling short. And you can see the Caras carries there in 16th place, which is weird to see because just previously on the standings, they were in first place with the amount of kill points and placement points that they managed to rack up. And Nerdish ZA also just not making it to where they would have wanted to be alongside a few other teams. And these overall standings, I feel like, are going to be very interesting. It's also nice to see Swamp Creatures obviously making that debut there in 4th place. They've been pretty quiet tonight thus far, and they were one of the teams that were doing really, really well, obviously making it to the semi-finals for a very good reason. But we'll see how that last match is going to finish off. I mean, thus far, there's a few teams I think we definitely know at this point in time that, we're going to see them in the finals for sure. They're going to be taking one of those 10 spots. Tender, you want to talk us through some of the teams that you pretty much,
I think tonight is nice because it's pretty close, even though I think what's usually happening is we're pretty top heavy with how the results come through. But I think top 5 wise, we're probably looking at Nibble, at JSN, at WRG. I think maybe even Caras can sneak in there, just depending on how well they can do with this final game. And I think, a team that maybe we are all sleeping on that is looking consistent, man. I mean, it's hard to really pinpoint, right? Because you see one team doing pretty well, and then all of a sudden it's going downhill, right? I think sometimes we tune into, for example, maybe Visimus. They look like they're doing good here and there. Nerdish as well. Maybe in that top 5, they've been consistently getting some good placements. Obviously, that one there was pretty tough for them to work with, right? But it's so up and down, like here and there. I mean, top 3 wise, though, I'm bent on it's going to be JSN, Nibble, and WRG. I'm not like predicting hardcore final stats here, guys, okay, but I think they've been the most consistent. They've been the most active in the lobby tonight, and I think those teams will probably come through and pop off. Final game, I mean, it's anybody's hands at this point.
Ira, from your side, what are some of the teams that you've obviously been looking out for and that you feel like, are going to penetrate into those top 10 slots?
Honestly, I have to agree a lot with Tendo. Visimus, very active, a good pop-off here coming in from Swamp Cultures, which may potentially put them in a good position because game number 2, top 10, only had 2 points. And here we have Swamp Cultures pulling in 10 points for themselves. So that's a huge leap in terms of, a sort of hope and dreams that they can manage to get into that top 10 position. It now comes down to this final game, whether or not they survive off spawn and get some, maybe even 7 more placement points, so 7 kill points, and then you can say, yeah, there's another team making it into it. But SimplySecluded haven't been on that position. It's scary, I'm only gonna wait and see until the final overalls before I curse, for example, some cultures who maybe may die to the hands of 69. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I think this last map, there's a lot of opportunities for a few teams to maybe just get enough points to just slip into those top 10. Maybe for some, the battle is a little bit too far gone, but there's definitely, I think, so much more balance this time around. I think we've had a better distribution of kills as well, which is fantastic to see. Obviously, kill points, being relatively even. There's a few teams that are, picking them up, obviously a lot better than the others, but so far it's been pretty decent. And obviously the rat game tonight's just absolutely strong for a lot of teams, getting those placement points there towards the latter half of the game, and it's really been making an impact for a lot of teams. Whether or not it's going to continue, I'm not sure. I feel like there's a lot of rats that are just sort of left to their own devices. They're just left to do what they need to do, and no one's really actually punishing them for that. Tendo, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it happens, right? Because sometimes you just have to be focused on more pressing matters, and then you just forget about the rats, and ultimately they become your biggest problem at the end, right? Because they just suck up all the placement points in the game, right? The longer those kind of people are alive in the lobby, the less chances you are of finishing in those positions, right? Because you need them to die. Because unfortunately, right, they form part of a full team, right? In that stat at the top right corner, only when that red dies does the team go down. Will you get those placement points, right? So it's always kind of being aware of the situation and keeping track of how many people are in the lobby, right? With us, it's a little bit easier when we observe, right? We get to see all the numbers, but if you're playing in the game, obviously it gives you that little question mark. So you have to keep track up until the very moment until you get that question mark to kind of be like, okay, guys, maybe there's somebody here and there that we need to take care of, right? And I mean, we're seeing that with like just nades in general, right? Nades are really cleaning up a lot of fights fast. The Gibraltar ultis, I mean, specifically from Rex, who have been pretty big coming in tonight. And looking yesterday, the threshold to qualify was 15 points. I mean, what do you guys think the threshold right now to qualify is looking like? You think just based on how everything's been going? Because I mean, Swamp Creatures, after basically getting 0 points for the first 2 games, are now sitting probably on 10 points, right? So now they're just below that threshold. So it's like, okay, who's falling under that?
I think honestly, like that's why I mentioned a 7-point game could be exactly that to go into the finals. I don't think the threshold. I think the threshold is even less, if I'm not mistaken, because I mean, like it was, I think from 5th to 10th in game number 2, it was like 2, 4, 6. It was very minimum, and we didn't see them in game number 3 doing the same consistency yet again. So it's we're gonna have to wait and see. Like, what I think maybe even 14 is the point to qualify into the rounds.
Well, thank goodness I don't do the numbers. We'll leave that to the admin team at the end of the game as we go to our last map of the evening of the last day of semi-finals for the Apex Legends African Throwdown Cup 2, brought to you by NODWIN Gaming Africa. The action is just heating up, and this final game will determine who's going through to the finals and who will not, and whose journey will be ending tonight. You don't want to miss the action. It's Tendo Plays and IOOG taking you through everything that is happening here. Get your popcorn ready because these games are going to be cracking. Guys, take us through it.
There's a couple of teams at the top of my head right now who I'm just thinking about, like, hey guys, I think you need to pull something here. Also, it's probably Curtain, so yeah, I'm thinking about the BOIS, SimplySecluded. S4 have been looking good here and there, but I don't think they're pulling up those points to really hit that threshold, right? I think Nexus as well, really struggling. They're getting caught on these really awkward rotations. I think even iEnvy, they were good, but they could just be clinching onto a top 10 position right now. There's even early access I'm thinking about as well. Like, there's just so many teams here that need these crucial points, right? And they perform so good in group stages, right? It just shows how tough it can get as the competition progresses further and further.
Definitely. For the most part, I think Laggy Boys is safe. Laggy Boys is safe. The BOIS SN, however, I haven't seen too much from them. Taifu, I did see him in the kill feed, but for the most part, I think he was getting eliminated. Loowe C as well. Like, that team, I don't know, man. It's scary. Most of these teams possibly could be on the same amount of points as well because of how inconsistent they've been. They have a single game that they do well, then the next few games they die off spawn or die in the mid games. And that's why we shouldn't do the maths, Tendo. Let's not do maths. It's breaking my brain right now.
Yeah, you gotta leave the math to the computers, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
At this point. But ladies and gentlemen, it is the African Throwdown, hosted by NODWIN Gaming. We are rounding off the semifinals with our final game here in Group B. And I mean, it's been an interesting story, right? It's what, a Group C show, isn't it, right? WRG,
it is.
JSN,
It is.
and
I
Nibble.
mentioned that. didn't I? Beginning of this, I said I think the top 10 Group C is going to be the dominant ones.
Yeah, no, definitely, and we're really getting to see exactly why that is the case. You know, they had such a good pool of players inside that group, but here it is right now. Zone is gonna get scanned nice and early for us. Another one of those countdown landslide finishes here, Iro, and we've seen how detrimental that can be to teams that are just stuck out in the open.
Yeah, no, I think it was Mama Woos who set up in the first stage, Group A, very early at landslide, and they were trying to do the most with the wingman. And yeah, we're gonna have to see what this means for most of these players. Look at Survey Camp, absolutely, like for such a small place that is really looted up right now, and it does look like SimplySecluded are gonna be involved over there. And I don't know. Let's see what happens here, man. SimplySecluded can win this game, or not win this game, but can do well. 14 points is all they need. Will they be able to grab it, though?
Gonna be really tough. I'd imagine they may be sitting just below 5 points right now, or maybe just on 5 points. So they really do need to pull up the numbers, and it's already going downhill as Rosa goes down to Predat. And they're making this push, and these shots really need to be connecting, and they do for the most part onto Navi. But it does look like Predat is going to push up and do a lot of damage with that R99. It's shambolic right now for SimplySecluded, and the fight here is definitely in a secluded area, as it does seem like DOFI is just going to be able to clean this fight up. Predat being pretty active to try and find out this last player. Gonna get dogged down here. Goofy sucks. And this is just unfortunate for SimplySecluded. And I mean, that's probably us kissing them goodbye from the African Throwdown.
A closed chapter here for SimplySecluded, but an absolute GG's around the board, as now we are getting a third-party involvement. Zelly and them are getting into the action, but for the boys, DOFI, they're gonna try to disengage with DQ on Octane, but it doesn't look like, for the most part, Early Access want to give up on that one, as they do get a knock already, and Early Access also needing somewhat of a good game for themselves, so maybe they're gonna go in and try get the eliminations here so that they can farm up those kill points. For DOFI as well, they needed this game, but now down to 2 members. Navi, King, and them are just trying to disengage, and this does not look good. Zelly and them are just gonna be on the back end. There's that Bash and hello, but look who's here. It's Loowe, and all these 3 teams tend to need their points. So what is gonna be happening, man? It's scary.
And that's just like the RNG factor in BR, right? You never know which team you're going up against most of the time. Could it be a team right at the top? Could it be a teams right below who are also trying to do exactly what you're trying to replicate in the game? So DOFI are away for now and alive. Bit of a sandwich they find themselves in, so they need to try and weave their way out of this situation. I saw JSN was in a fight, but it looks like they might have cleaned that fight up, so I don't think we need to worry too much about that. There's already a lot of teams that have fallen thus far, so we're down to 17. Lava Siphon is calm for the second. Doesn't look like the team of Loowe was really looking to really invest themselves in that fight for the most part. The south side is almost fully vacant as squads are making their way up to where that zone is going to be pulling. And I mean, yeah, this is 4th game material, right? You kind of either get those teams that come in guns blazing and they need points and they need to just make something happen, you know, or you get the teams that are playing it slowly, waiting for their rotations and waiting for the opportunity and just trying to play out the strategy that will really guarantee them a spot into that next round.
Yeah, no, and that next round, I mean, you know, I would say for the teams, for each semifinal, it's the teams that came out 6th to 10th is the teams that are going to be struggling the most in the finals. And that's going to be, you know, it's going to be sad. But we're finding now Caras carry sort of in a fight here with Savitar Dash. What is going to happen? We need to find out exactly, because JSN seemed to be the, you know, the dominant team over here.
Yeah, they seem to just be inting on top of carries, and there's not really much they can do. They're just trying to hold their ground. Cam's there around the corner, waging this war against Dash, and Cam looks to win this one, but not long after. The team is gone and wiped by JSN, and JSN just out-trumps them, unfortunately. And that's going to be Caras out. But I imagine they've done enough to probably guarantee themselves a next slot, unless one of these teams does something absolutely crazy. Because, I mean, if you look at it right across, you know, the NODWIN stages, look at that as well. They're coming in here. They're being a little bit cheeky on the ref push here. They're actually pulling out the ref. Octane play onto JSN. Is JSN really ready for this situation to break loose? And we've seen S4. They can really be really good at the gunfights, and that's exactly what's happening. They're mowing them down from the high ground. Nai is alive on a lifeline. He needs his team to cover for him, and they have for the most part. They've held off quite well here, the team of JSN, to continue going through the lobby, and they actually get a knock on the opposite side. So they're doing good. They're cleaning up these fights. And sometimes, you know, when you go up against JSN, you don't really know if it's going to be your dub, right? You know, they can always pull the tide so quickly. And look behind you. Nice. Mowing you down. And they just have all the angles to kind of work with, even though they're on the low ground.
For the most part, it did look like S4 did have the advantage. However, played it a bit too safe for my say, because you know you do have a totem. Jump into it, go into the one-on-one situation. Do not play a distance game with the thing, but at the same time, distance is what is going to clear up that totem. So they had to somehow keep it to their nail, and JSN was able to pick up some eliminations as well in that. So you're just gifting JSN the kill points that they need in order to continue dominating. But over here, WRG against JSN. JSN just keep on finding himself in a tough position.
Ooh, the ulti's also getting popped over here. JSN, a downer man. As the ulti comes down, WRG are looking to get involved here. Rexu's in, but taking a lot of damage. Rexu's down, but look at EXO in a good position to deal as much damage as he can, and loans in, cleans it up. And that is the team of JSN going down. And that's exactly what happens sometimes, right? We know we pull the perspective on the opposite side when we're back at Climatizer. Maybe you go up a team that is in the same position as you, right? Where it's like, hey, we need points to survive. Or maybe you go up against a team that is just as top dog as you, up at the top, farming all the kills, just like we saw there with WRG and JSN. Nibble in a really good spot, though. They're not in too much traffic.
Yeah, no, really crazy coming out from JSN. But you know what? They're confidently in the finals. We can wave them goodbye to that session, and we'll have to wait and see exactly what that means for them, though, because you know they're going up against the best of the best, and the likes of ATK, Carthaginians, and so forth. It's just they're not going to be able to do what they were doing today, and we'll have to wait and see. But S4D still in this. They've managed to get up Link Up. However, Link Up on a Evo White, he's going to get taken quite the damage right now. But a couple good nades, and Noobs go do manage to lose one of their opponents. It is also a Revton on Crimmins and KO. Will they be able to get the cleanup and the kill points that they need? And maybe a story even to sort of clutch into the next phase.
Do you look to be backing off from this fight and disengaging a little bit here? Don't really want to get too involved and give up this position that they have. A lot of high ground to work with. The zone is obviously pulling towards this side. So they're just going to pivot from the top of this. I think that team is in the tower. I'm not too sure. No, they're not. They're actually fighting at the entrance there. And there's another team behind them. And there's a team rotating to that chokehold. So things are probably popping off here for DOFI, who pulled themselves back in the game, but are back in the tough situation. And this is one of those teams that need as many points as they can, as well as Laggy Boys, who aren't really too safe in this semi-final. It does look like Nabi and Padat will be able to pull this in to a good fight. This golden backpack res is on the opposite side, so this res could be really huge, but that Arc Star might be big, and it is really big. But on the opposite side, it's Tenchi, it's Nibble coming in to ruin the day and be the ultimate Grim Reapers of the situation as Tenchi pulls on in, R301 in hand, looking to clean up these teams.
Yeah, and he's not going to be stopping right now. Tenchi knows to engage when the matters are tough. And yet again, we're finding the players running for their lives. And you can see Radioactive and Neo and all these players ahead of them right now. But for the most part, I do think the player manages to disengage from this completely. Neo, however, trying to loot up, he does manage to find himself a purple Evo, so he's going to be happy with that. But he's a rat, he's a solo, and we have come to know that these are the players who somehow grab the most placements that they can possible, second or third, and that's really all you really need right now. But Nibble heading in some action. Tenshi, however, does not care which site he's aimed onto him. He's still going to pull out that R301 and absolutely unrail that ammunition. It does look like, for the most part, he's able to pick up a knock and a confirmation. So kill points, 6 kills already for Tenshi. It is always that last game where they seem to just change the entire environment and bring it into their favor.
Yeah, I think Nibble's really good on that tempo switch up, man. And I'm here contemplating to myself, man, Sabron or Tenshi in this African Throwdown, who is kind of walking away as tournament MVP, right? Because we've seen Sabron do absolute bits for the team of the Carthaginians, right? And Tenshi, likewise, is doing absolute bits for Nibble Esports. But you can't take away from Gutbuster or 20, right? They're just a well-oiled unit right now as they just move across here, and they shots raining through from Gutbuster. And it looks like a knock comes through. Coordinated fire coming in from the team of Nibble. And look, Tenshi is in once again, almost 1v3ing them the way he's dived in. But he goes down to Zelly. But now they'll be here to clean it up. It shouldn't be too much of a problem as they'll get that quick rest on. But WRG is close in the area. WRG might snuff this out and get close. It does look like I see EXO making this play to get a little bit aggressive. They're trying to fish this one out. And once again, Nibble and WRG just run into traffic with each other. And look at where EXO is positioned. Really straightforward. Zone's pulling on in, but not going to be too big of an issue for Nibble as they try and rotate out of this. But WRG is really looking to dog them down and hound them down.
The beams coming out from Lone. This is exactly what you love to see right now. The intense situations for game number 3 is really what is happening yet again. And it does look like they have managed to get a knock over here onto Nibble Esports. And Nibble Esports on the back home right now. And as Rexu with the G7 Scouts, he's able to do the most over here, and it's now down to 2 players. Gutbuster really needing to heal up. He does for the most part. It's the duo to lift the dream, but will they be able to do so? There's the out as well.
It's just absolute carnage, man. Ultis are falling down. WRG is still alive for the most part. Tenshi's coming back in, yeah! He takes a lot of damage though. Gutbuster goes in. Gutbuster can't follow through on that. And that's Nibble out on the edge of the zone to WRG. And I mean, this area is just open area. It's just, you know, you just get caught out. And this is exactly what happened, I believe, in the group fixture with First in Battle, right? When they had the Kraber up at the top here. There's just so many squads that rotate in the area and don't really have cover to work with.
Yeah, no, and for the most part, WRG seem to maybe win this lobby. I don't see any other contestants that, you know, have the same similar skill. JSN has been taken out. Nibble has been taken out. There is no one that could possibly be the end for the TWRG. Swamp Cultures are in here. S4DV is in here as well. So we are seeing some placement points, at least across the board, for some of those bottom top 10 players that haven't been really doing the most. But Nerdish ZA as well, that Valkyrie rotations, they managed to find themselves in the same position yet again, using the Valkyrie disengagement. And it's really such a good thing because you get to sort of locate the players and scan down on the field on where your next rotation is going to be. And it does look like they're going to go in for the far left and maybe even landing on the solo player who's hoping to do the most for the team. And they land right onto him. It does look like they can see, and you can see now it's actually two players of the team there.
Zone is closing in now, so things are about to get really tight for a lot of players. WRG are post up in this little caravan on the outskirts. And S4 have done really well here. I mean, they're probably pulling in enough points to get them in to that grand final. If they can continue the streak that they have, they do have a really good position to work with. Visimus is still involved. I did catch Ali in the corner of the screen there. They could still be a problem, although I think they started the game off already with a deficit of a player. I think Scare looked like he was unable to join on in, so they've been playing just Neo and Ali. But I mean, the two can still do something and make something happen.
Good position here for Link Up and his team as they find themselves on a high position. You know, Coalfire, somebody that we didn't get to see too much in the games, finding himself in at the end game. 8 squads remain, 17 players right over here. Let's see exactly what will be happening. EXO now needing to take a battery. Rexo popping in the queue. And we will see the positionings now onto Esport DP as he's railing down that G7 scout.
Yeah, the position here is just hard to deal with for WRG while making this rotation. They're somehow making it happen, and they've moved on to another trailer. So they're pretty mobile for the most part. The lobby is pretty steady, though. Everybody's kind of just like trying to post up and hold the spot to try just be safe for this next zone. WRG definitely, I think, is everybody's favorites to maybe clean things up, especially after the likes of Nibble is down and JSN is down. I mean, for the most part, the wins have been going back and forth with them. But hey, Swamp Creatures is here. And I think Swamp Creatures is going to be a bit of an opposition, right? They have some really good gun skill with them, and they can make some really good calls when needed. And they hold off from their rotations quite well. So there's still a lot to play for in this game. There's still a lot of competition. There's still opportunity for these 8 squads to come out as champion.
It's going to be tough, though. I mean, going against the likes of WRG and them is not going to be easy. We can see Inakato and Coldfire sort of being the, team pillars right now, trying to get as much placements as they can possibly. But will it be enough? As you also have Dixit, so 3 solo players here, guys, that remain and to cover up that over there. It's going to be tough, if any of these guys sort of get focused on from the gunfire that we have. It's going to be GG's. I think on the other end over there, that has to be the Valkyrie team.
Yeah, I think Nerdish is maybe caught off in a tough spot. Are they looking to redeploy again? Nerdish making their plays once again, and the Scout isn't going to stop that for now from Rexu. With everything steady down. I believe 69 is still in this affair in the corner there. I did see Inakato. It does look like Vicimus is going down though, unfortunately. S4 still in the zone. They're hugging it though. Not in a really great spot. Ali's still alive. Ali swooping around the corner. Doesn't really see the player. Does a lot of damage. Yeah, and Inakato takes him out, and 69 are gathering much needed points here to try to pull themselves in. And oh, the gas comes through, but the Q is good to get out of it and reset for now. But there's a team right on top of this poor man. He's not aware of it. Are they gonna send it? Yo, the biggest play right here, hear me out, is if he goes up there and waits for them to go back and he just beams all of them on that totem. I'm just saying, if it happens, it'll be amazing. But it looks like S4 is making this play onto WRG.
Retreat back to the totem, back to the high pillar, and they can possibly get the revive. But it's an Alt who's going to put in a tough position, and they get into the container for the most part. They still have their third who they can revive right now. Ooh, and there goes the portal. EXO, Lone, and them are just getting shot left, right, and center, and I don't think it's going to be enough cover for them. Inakato also finding himself over here.
Damn, Inakato's doing so much down here as a solo, dude. The solo plays today have been absolutely superb. You can make an entire compilation. First it was Cam, yeah, now look at Inakato trying to do as much as he can for 69 to try qualify. And KO drops down onto him over there, and they're gonna have a fight, a brawl with Crummings. But Inakato's doing so much, but not enough to keep him in this one. Crummings is the only one up on the team of S4 who are sitting so well to clutch the game up, but just have entered a little bit too much onto that solo. And sometimes cleaning up solos can be really tough. WRG are still up, trying to do as much as they can, and they're up on their feet, the entire roster. Swamp Creatures are still involved. Swamp Creatures again holding up so well. Look at Swamp Creatures. They're playing this so nicely. They're just waiting for the right moment. Nerdish is still in this one. The Valkyrie team that's been doing so much, so many repositions, still in this fight. There's 3 teams up. It looks like WRG is involved in this fight. The one goes down. It looks like Swamp Creatures is coming on in to get involved in this fight. it does look like it's going to be a bit of a stalemate between Swamp Creatures and WRG. Candle's taking up a lot of damage, and Ulti's popping loose onto Exo. He's so weak. WRG is about to fall down here. Rexu's still up on his feet somehow, alive, but Swamp Creatures is trying to clutch this final game up. The one goes down. It's a 2v2, I think, in this situation. Or maybe, just maybe, there's one player up. I think it's just one player up. It's Killers here from, I think, Nerdish, who's the only player up. He has to try and 1v3, but Nerdish so far have been a great storyline to follow, ladies and gentlemen. And he's trying to redeploy once again to give us a show here, but it's not enough. I think Swamp Creatures are gonna come here and swoop him up and clean up this fourth game.
Would you ever call that Swamp Creatures would have been the stoppers to WRG in this game? What a spectacular performance out of that team over there, and really GG's, you know, getting the comeback needed in order to make it into the next phase, which is that African Throwdown Finals. It's come to it right now, and we'll know who is our top 10 after the overall standings come out.
I mean, we were saying, you know, they should get at least like 7 points, you know, make sure that they're going to get themselves in those top 10. And then they go and they take the entire lobby, they take the entire W with them. So, I mean, I think they've got 12 already just in terms of placements. I have no idea how many kills altogether they got, but they should be looking pretty good. Just last minute come through and surprise all of us. But that match in of itself was quite an interesting one. I mean, to see the WRG Nibble showdown immediately, having that fight go down, and then we move into the latter half of that zone, and it's just, ooh, it's crazy. Tendo, what did you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, interesting decision from Respawn. I wasn't really a big fan of the train yard, right, which used to be where the landslide is, but it's really opened up that playing field, right, to almost feel like real trench warfare, right? Everybody's just like tucked into a little bit of a cranny or nook that they can play from and just popping off shots left, right, and center. So that end game was pretty explosive for the most part because most teams had options to stay alive, and they tried to stay alive as long as possible. And yeah, it was fights left, right, and center. I think from the beginning, we just saw teams coming in, guns blazing, and that was kind of like the final statement for the day. It's like, hey guys, let's just give it our all. Let's just try fight every single body that we can see in front of us.
It was definitely a crazy, crazy stream coming in for that one. But, I mean, that is the last match of the semi-finals done and dusted. Obviously, we are just getting those standings and MVP ready for the match. Then we'll take a look at those overall standings. And at this moment in time, I've been trying to, like, figure out, okay, well, you know, we're going to see, most likely we're going to see Nibble there. Most likely we're going to see WRG there. Vesimus, I'm sort of sure we're going to be seeing them there, but thankfully I'm not the one doing the math. But what is some crazy numbers is the MVP on your screen right now. Exo coming through for your last MVP of the day with 5 kills and 2.4 damage done and dusted coming through. Woo! Iro, I mean, the performance here from White Rabbit has definitely been so energetic.
Yeah, they've really turned things around from that Group C sort of performance we did see out of them. You know, they were the star team, I would say, to come out of the semifinals too. But you have to love to see, you know, how they work together. EXO being the aggressor in this game, number 4, he did amazing scenes over there. 5 kills is big, and 2,400 damage as well. You love to see it. I'm happy for the team WRG, and it does look like maybe they will get that overall standings number 1 on the leaderboard. Maybe we see them there. But for the match standings, match number 4, White Rabbit still coming first with 18 points, 11 eliminations over there. Swamp Creatures in second with 16 points. Nibble Esports in third, however, with 12 eliminations and 2 placement points, now sitting on 14. And then in fourth is Nerdish, 69 in fifth, S4DB in sixth, JSN in 7, Laggy Boys in 8, and DOFI in 9th, Vesimus in 10th. Will it be enough? We'll have to wait and see when we look at that overall standings.
Oh, it's I feel like we've had such a different top 10 throughout the day in our match standings. And again, it's great, it's amazing because it means that it's been so competitive, but it's horrible for me to try and predict who we're going to be seeing in that final overall standing. So far, I don't know, Tendo, it's been a rough one so far. I think we've got an idea of some of the teams, but the rest are going to be interesting because it's been so distributed so far.
Yeah, and I mean this final game is the points are pretty even, right? I don't think one team is really overtaking the other team. I think for me, I'm kind of worried for Visimus. I think they had a couple of consistent games here and there. They kind of performed how, it felt like Punks was performing in their group stage game, but then they ended up finishing in 5th place, right? So do we see something come from them there, or they're just clenching onto that top 10, right? I don't know, man. I'm a little bit worried to see how that one goes through, but I think topic for me is definitely 69, who in the beginning were struggling so much, getting contested by Swamp Creatures. Funny how Swamp Creatures, turns it around and goes to win out the games. But I mean, 69 in Akato, just trying his very best. And he did the same in the group stages, just trying his best to carry the team as far as they can. I'm also worried for them, man, because they really gave a performance to try to stay in this one. Is it enough? S4, pretty consistent as well. So I'm just curious to see if they are in the top 10 where they did finish, because they got a lot of points in that final game. But decision making here and there was a little bit lopsided, I feel, coming in that final game. I think everybody just was like maybe feeling nerves and they just need to make quick, rash decisions. But Swamp Creatures, you could see, calm, cool, collected. They were just there in the corner waiting for everybody. And then they came in right time.
The timing tonight has been very interesting, especially with our third parties coming through. And just a reminder for everyone in chat, obviously the finals may or may not be moved out by a week. We're waiting for confirmation about that update coming through on the Tuesday, if it's going to be a clash or is it not. So when we have that information, it will be on our socials and of course the NODWIN Gaming Africa website. So make sure that you check that out if you want to stay in touch, of course, to make sure that you're here for the finals. But speaking of the finals, let's look at those overall standings to find out who's going to be our last 10 joining the finals coming through. And here they are. When we look at it, Nibble Esports coming through in first place with 73 points. White Rabbit ZA in second place with 73 as well. So quite a little bit of a tie coming through there. JSN in third place with 44 points. Caras carries making it through in fourth place with 29 points. Visimus coming through in fifth place. Swamp Creatures making it such an impact there with that last win coming through in sixth place. 69 Gaming in seventh. Nerdish ZA in eighth. So they've made the story count. Laggy Boys in ninth place. And S4DB in 10th place. Rounding up your last 10 slots for the finals. And unfortunately, we will have to say goodbye and thank you so much for playing to Loowe, DOFI, Noobs First in Battle, Early Access, the BOIS SN, iEnvy Gaming, Nexus Gaming, SimplySecluded, and 99MDG. So thank you so much for playing, but unfortunately, your journey ends here. Those are the overall standings. What do you guys think?
Finals are looking stacked. I mean, I think in terms of this semi-final, kind of expected the teams that are in that top 10 to be in that top 10, right? They're there, they're comfortable. And again, like I said, Visimus sitting at 5th place, they kind of seem quiet, but doing enough, being consistent, right? Same when I, was watching Punks during the group stage game. I felt worried, but, they shake the worries off of me there. So, I mean, hey, in that final, it's hectic. You got ATK, WRG, JSN, Cartesians, 2 noobs, 1 cheetah. I mean, Ominous, a Punks, Team Benched, Swamp Creatures, Nerdish. It goes on the list. It's crazy. I feel like that final is going to be so explosive right now. So congratulations to all the teams that are there. I am itching for that finals right now. I mean, we may as well just fast forward time and let's get there right now.
Unfortunately, as I said, you guys have to keep out an eye on the website and the socials as the final may or may not be moved. Which, I mean, in and of itself is a very interesting concept because that means that these teams have an extra week to prepare for the finals. That's going to be an interesting talking point when we look at it. But for the time being, that is the semi-finals coming to a close for the Apex Legends African Throwdown Cup 2, brought to you by NODWIN Gaming Africa. Big shout out to our cast, Stendo players and IROG for bringing you all the action, the spicy action the entire evening, and of course our observers and production team. that were working like mad to try and get all of those angles in check. Oh, I'm just glad it's not me doing it. And our admin team, woo, so much math, so many angles, and so much action, of course, as you would expect from Apex Legends. So make sure you join us for those finals, whether they're next week or the week after. Check the socials to make sure, and we hope to see you there. It's been such a beautiful, beautiful time spending it with you guys. So next week or the week after, see you then. And again, just big shout out to the teams for just bringing the action tonight. It was so, so good. Until then, we'll see you guys next time.